Chapter 697. Immortal Emperor, you should know why I was able to reincarnate even after my soul was destroyed, right? Qin Yu frowned and looked at Immortal Emperor Zhonlong after pondering for some time. Even though Immortal Emperor Zhonlong had mentioned that he only had one soul, judging from Immortal Emperor Zhonlong's reaction, he should know the reason. When I woke up and saw that your soul was gone, I was going to retrieve the ancient battle dragon art and look for another successor. However, at that time, a mysterious power descended from the outer realms and gathered the soul power that had originally dissipated between heaven and earth, allowing you to enter the cycle of reincarnation. Immortal Emperor Zhonlong nodded. A mysterious force. Is that force able to ignore the rules of the Heaven Domain Tao? Qin Yu was astounded. Before coming to the Immortal Vault, the woman in a white outfit mentioned that the 9 continents of the Heaven Domain and the demons of the Outer Realm were shrouded by Immortal Emperor Zhonlong's laws. Therefore, any cultivator from the Outer Realm would be suppressed by the Immortal Emperor Zhonlong's laws. Just what kind of cultivation was needed to gather his scattered soul force under that kind of situation and send it back into the cycle of reincarnation? If I was at my peak, the mysterious force wouldn't be able to infiltrate my body. However, 90% of my power has dissipated. Anyone who has surpassed the 9th layer of the Heaven Tao can resist my laws. Of course, the mysterious force isn't to be underestimated either. It has most likely touched the immortal Tao. Most importantly, the soul energy of the mysterious force is vaguely connected to your soul. Immortal Emperor Zhonlong said. Vaguely connected, Qin Yu could not help but feel a chill running down his spine. He recalled Xing Luo whom he had killed. Xing Luo was from the Outer Realm. The body he cultivated could also be considered a clone. Was he like Xing Luo? Was he a soul split from someone? However, after this thought appeared in Qin Yu's mind, he felt that it was unlikely. After all, Xing Luo was well aware that his physical body had been nurtured, and his soul was still one with his true body. However, Qin Yu's soul and will had always been independent. An external force had never interfered with his thoughts. Of course, Qin Yu's current martial cultivation was not very strong. Perhaps there really was some secret art at the 9th level of the Heavenly Tao or even higher that could interfere with or even control his soul without him noticing. Don't worry. There are no restrictions or spirit formations controlling your soul. If that wasn't the case, I wouldn't have chosen you as my successor back then. The Battle Dragon Immortal Emperor said as if he knew what Qin Yu was thinking. Qin Yu heard this and the uneasiness in his heart was slightly suppressed. Considering the Battle Dragon Immortal Emperor's cultivation, there should not be any problem if he said so. Wait, suddenly, Qin Yu's body trembled, and his expression froze. Back in the Heaven Region's western continent, when he had met the Heaven-Burying Sword Immortal in the Immortal Ancient Ruins, the Heaven-Burying Sword Immortal had said that he had met someone who looked exactly like him. Could that person be the person whom the Battle Dragon Celestial King had mentioned, the person who had condensed his soul? However, you still need to condense 3 souls. When you reach the 9th level of the Heavenly Tao, your soul will need to be baptized by the power of the Heavenly Tao. Similarly, when you cross the 9th level of the Heavenly Tao and enter the Immortal Tao, your soul will also be baptized. Now, I can use the art of fake soul to help you condense 2 souls and reach the 9th level of the Heavenly Tao, but I'm afraid the fake soul won't be able to withstand the immortal tribulation in the future. The Battle Dragon Immortal Emperor added. Immortal Emperor, if I'm one of the 3 souls, is there a way to sense the existence of the other 2 souls? Hearing that, Qin Yu pondered for a while and then slowly opened his mouth. Since the Immortal Tao required the baptism of 3 souls, it meant that Qin Yu could be devoured by the other 2 souls at any time. Especially the person who had appeared in the Heaven region who looked exactly like him in his past life. That person was very likely one of the 3 souls, or perhaps he had already condensed 2 souls. The soul summoning art is a secret art that aids the cultivation of the soul Tao. It can summon remnant souls that are traveling in the world. If you're really one of the souls, then if you cultivate the soul summoning art to the peak, you should be able to sense the existence of the other 2 souls. The Battle Dragon Immortal Emperor said after thinking for a moment. The soul summoning art. Qin Yu's eyes flashed. As long as he cultivated the soul summoning art, he would be able to confirm if he was really one of the souls. Whoosh! Whoosh! The battle dragon Immortal Emperor flicked his finger and beams of immortal light entered Qin Yu's body. Through the light mirror, one could clearly see that 2 more strands of soul power had rapidly appeared within Qin Yu's body. However, compared to the perfect fusion of the 3 souls of Zhangtian Sword Immortal and the others, Qin Yu had condensed 2 fake souls. However, the 2 fake souls were still unable to fuse with Qin Yu's soul. The 2 fake souls even firmly guarded Qin Yu's soul. From its appearance, it appeared as if it was protecting Qin Yu's soul. In addition to condensing the 2 fake souls, Qin Yu also had the cultivation method of the soul summoning art in his mind. Thank you for the technique, Immortal Emperor. After closing his eyes and adapting to the 2 fake souls, Qin Yu solemnly thanked the Battle Dragon Immortal Emperor. The Battle Dragon Immortal Emperor's action could be said to be a great favor to Qin Yu. Otherwise, he would probably never be able to reach the 9th level of the Heavenly Tao in this lifetime. However, Qin Yu's kneeling body was held back by an invisible force. I've waited for countless years, and my lifespan has reached the end. If I can't find a successor, everything I've learned in my life will disappear with me. And your arrival can allow me to pass on my legacy. To a certain extent, you can be considered to have fulfilled my wish. That war dragon Immortal King who had a smile on his face acted and stopped Qin Yu's kneeling. After saying that, the Battle Dragon Immortal Emperor waved his right hand. An ancient disc appeared in his hand. There were 10 pits on the ancient disc, 9 around it, and 1 in the center. After the ancient spirit disc appeared, the ancient battle dragon art flew into the center of the pit. The 2 merged perfectly. Strands of pure energy emanated from the immemorial battle dragon incantation and seeped into the 9 pits. Immediately, dragon roars faintly resounded from the 9 pits, and numerous dragon markings filled the air. Such a terrifying presence of the dragon tribe. Qin Yu could not help but feel a chill down his spine when he sensed the presence of the dragon runes in the 9 pits. The presence of the dragon runes was even stronger than the immortal ancient Shenron that Qin Yu had seen in the past. Since you've cultivated the immemorial battle dragon art, you should know that there are 9 secret arts in the immemorial battle dragon art, right? The Battle Dragon Immortal Emperor's figure became a lot more illusionary after the ancient disc appeared. His life force weakened even further. I've now mastered the heaven-battling Azure Dragon, the sky-devouring Dragon Seal, the Divine Dragon Body, and the 8 trigrams Battle Dragon Art. Qin Yu said with a nod. As a matter of fact, the 9 secret arts of the immemorial Battle Dragon Art are the supreme mystical arts of the dragon tribe that I refined by subduing the 9 primordial ancestral dragon. The Battle Dragon Immortal Emperor said. Chapter 698. The 9 origin ancestral dragons. Qin Yu was taken aback. He had only heard of the Chaos ancestral dragons. However, given Immortal King Zhonlong's cultivation, the ancestral dragons he had subdued would not be on the same level as the Chaos ancestral dragons. Moreover, Immortal King Zhonlong was talking about the origin ancestral dragons. What was the origin? The origin was the one and only in the world. Although the Chaos ancestral dragons were called ancestral dragons, there had been more than one in the history of the realm. Unfortunately, the eternal immortal empire was struck by a dark upheaval. The immortal kings were the first to suffer. I was severely injured in that battle and had no choice but to seal the realm and hide here to recuperate. The 9 origin ancestral dragons took advantage of my weakness to break the seal and escape. Otherwise, I would have merged the 9 origin ancestral dragons into one and entered the legendary realm. Immortal King Zhonlong sighed softly. He was born at the wrong time. The eternal immortal empire. Dark upheaval. The immortal kings. Qin Yu had never heard of any of the words spoken by Immortal King Zhonlong. To him, these words were like new and mysterious worlds. However, the War Dragon Coil is an immortal treasure refined from the bones of the 9 origin ancestral dragons. With the War Dragon Coil, you will be able to sense where the 9 origin ancestral dragons are. Immortal King Zhonlong handed the War Dragon Coil to Qin Yu. Whoosh! As soon as Qin Yu touched it, the War Dragon Coil turned into a beam of light and entered his soul. Qin Yu was able to clearly sense that the war dragon coil had appeared in his soul. At the same time, the many things he didn't understand about the primordial war dragon art became clear. The dark upheaval will come again. I hope you can enter the legendary realm before then. Immortal King Zhonlong's ethereal voice rang out. The stars in the sky flickered with dazzling light. The next moment, beams of immortal light that contained supreme inheritances all gathered on Qin Yu's body. When he passed on his mantle to Qin Yu, Immortal King Zhonlong's ethereal body grew more and more transparent. In the end, he turned into light and dissipated before Qin Yu's eyes. That is, Qin Yu is accepting the inheritance. As I thought, he's related to the battle dragon Immortal Emperor. At this moment, the dragon soul outside the towering celestial shadow, the sky barrier sword Immortal, the white-clothed woman, and Long Hao were all present. Through the eyes of the celestial shadow, he saw Qin Yu receiving the inheritance. When Long Hun and Long Hao saw this scene, their expressions became wild with joy. It was rumored that the immortal trove contained the inheritance of an ancient immortal. It was obvious that Qin Yu had obtained the legacy of an ancient immortal. This naturally made the two of them happy. As for the sky barrier sword Immortal and the white-clothed woman, their expressions were different. Sky barrier sword Immortal had received an immortal power inheritance before, so he knew that what Qin Yu was inheriting now was definitely not an ordinary ancient immortal inheritance. The woman in white knew that the immortal treasury was created by the war dragon Immortal King. The inheritance of a supreme immortal king was taken away right in front of her eyes. This caused the white-clothed woman to reveal a complicated expression. If it weren't for the fact that her immortal body was destroyed and her immortal soul still needed to rely on the Nine Gods deity extermination painting, she would have charged out long ago. Under the gazes of the dragon soul and the others, the towering celestial shadow shrank at a visible speed. It appeared as if that immortal silhouette was being devoured by Qin Yu unceasingly. Rumble. About half an hour later, a deafening explosion rang out. Huge spiderweb-like cracks began to appear in the sky. The cracks exploded, and two figures with terrifying auras and murderous auras appeared. They were the Luosha Crown Prince and the Blood Demon, who'd followed them all the way here. They'd been able to follow Qin Yu and the others all the way with their secret techniques. Unfortunately, the Luosha Crown Prince and the Blood Demon were no longer able to follow Qin Yu and the others after they entered the Immortal King's inheritance star. Judging from the Crown Prince and the Blood Demon's weak and chaotic auras, they knew that they were in great danger. Has the inheritance begun? The Rakshasa son of heaven and blood devil immediately saw Qin Yu, who was receiving the inheritance. Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They had done everything they could to sneak into the heaven region, even risking their lives. Unexpectedly, the battling dragon Immortal King's inheritance had been taken by someone else first. It was especially so for the Blood Demon. The Immortal King token on Qin Yu had been personally given to Qin Yu by him. He'd wanted to use Qin Yu to collect all 8 Immortal King tokens, and then reap the benefits. In the end, he was the one who'd ended up with nothing. Luosha Sky Dance. Without hesitation, the Luosha Crown Prince used a forbidden technique of the Luosha tribe. Streaks of mysterious grey shadows exploded from the Luosha Crown Prince's body, rushing towards the celestial shadow where Qin Yu was. Each of the grey shadows exuded an aura that wasn't any weaker than a late ancient emperor realm existence. Their aura was enough to make one's heart tremble. Not good. Long Hao's eyes narrowed. The ancient sword on his back flew out of its scabbard, turning into sword light. He leapt in front of the huge celestial shadow and slashed. Instantly, countless streaks of dazzling sword light shot out, blocking all the grey shadows. Catcher! However, waves of unceasing cracking sounds appeared. It was Long Hao's sword glow that continuously collapsed and dissipated when it came into contact with those grey figures. Fart! Long Hao was hit by the grey shadows, and he was sent flying, spitting out blood. His aura was visibly weakened. If not for the Dragon Soul's spacetime power affecting spacetime at the critical moment, Long Hao would not have ended up just spitting out blood. How did his cultivation become so strong? The Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, who had followed closely behind the Dragon Soul and destroyed the grey shadows with his terrifying immortal chi, looked at the Luosha crown prince in shock. Compared to when he was in the graveyard of the immortal god, the Luosha crown prince's cultivation had undergone a drastic change. If the sky barrier sword immortal had not refined the majestic immortal chi of the graveyard of the immortal god, he would not have fared any better than Long Hao. Blood tyrant of the 9 heavens. The blood demon also attacked when he saw the Luosha crown prince being blocked by the Dragon Souls trio. As the blood demon's hands formed a series of hand seals, a bloody mist that blotted out the sun surged and covered most of the sky. A ferocious demon god was condensed within the terrifying bloody mist, and it descended with a vast might. Stop! The woman in white raised an eyebrow and chose to attack. After all, she had a contract with Qin Yu. It was better for the immortal king's inheritance to fall into Qin Yu's hands than for the Luosha crown prince and the blood demon to take it. The woman in white waved her sleeve, and 9 majestic gods appeared from the 9 gods deity extermination painting and charged toward the horrifying blood demon. The woman in white's true form pounced at the blood demon with an ethereal aura. An ancient immortal? The blood demon sized up the woman in white with shock in his eyes. He had infiltrated the heavenly region for so many years, but he hadn't expected there to be an ancient immortal from the Immortal King era. Chapter 699. Rumble. The 9 gods and the terrifying blood demon started a bloody battle. Terrifying divine power and bloody mist clashed in the void. The white-clothed woman and blood demon also clashed, unleashing killing moves that shook the starry sky. Bam! After another fierce clash, the white-clothed woman and blood demon both retreated hundreds of meters in the air. They faced each other from a distance, their killing intent extremely dense. However, the white-clothed woman's eyes flashed with a strange expression. On the other hand, the bloody mist on blood demon's body grew thicker and more violent, his aura soaring. Is immortal King Zhonlong's immortal law gradually disappearing? The white-clothed woman secretly used a secret technique. After sensing carefully, a strange light flashed in her eyes. Previously, when she fought with the blood demon, she felt that the blood demon's cultivation was constantly increasing. Now, she finally understood the reason. On the Luosha crown prince's side, Long Hun, Long Hao, and Sky Barrier Sword Immortal worked together, but they could barely block his attacks. From the looks of the battle, the 3 of them didn't have the advantage in numbers. In fact, they were gradually being suppressed by the Luosha crown prince. Left with no choice, Long Hun summoned the ancestor demon statue that Qin Yu had given him. The 4 of them worked together to stop the Luosha crown prince. It seems that you've also noticed that the immortal king's immortal law is disappearing. Soon, all the experts in the universe will sense immortal King Zhonlong's aura and flock to the heavenly region. If both of us are injured, then we won't be able to obtain anything. Conversely, if we join forces and obtain the immortal king's inheritance, then you might be able to be reborn in the future and even step foot into the ancient immortal realm once more. Blood Demon glanced at the shrinking immortal figure and couldn't help but say to the white-clothed woman. Although the white-clothed woman was only a soul now, she had once become an ancient immortal after all. Her secret techniques made Blood Demon extremely wary. Therefore, Blood Sacrifice wanted to rope her in. Now that the Luosha crown prince was busy, it was the best opportunity for him to succeed. If the white-clothed woman continued to pester him, immortal King Zhonlong's inheritance would fall into the Luosha crown prince's hands after he finished his battle. At that time, he really wouldn't have a share of the immortal king's inheritance. War Immortal's art. The woman in white didn't care about Blood Demon's words. She formed a celestial spell with her fingers and her body emitted a crystal celestial light. In the next moment, an illusory figure with surging immortal chi condensed behind her. After the celestial shadow appeared, it made a grabbing motion. A ball of sealed immortal force was extracted from the ancestral demon golem that was fighting the Rakshasa crown prince, merging with the illusory immortal shadow. The ball of immortal energy within the ancestral devil statue was the immortal energy that Qin Yu had sealed. Originally, Qin Yu had sealed it within the ancestral devil statue in case he needed it. Who would have thought that the woman in white would use it now? After fusing with the celestial force, the celestial shadow's originally illusory body had clearly become a little more solid. The celestial chi surrounding its body had also become a little denser. Since you don't know what's good for you, then don't blame me for being rude. Blood Devil's eyes darkened, his face cold and ruthless. After he roared, the blood curse appeared all over his body. Layers of bloody light shone around him, and he emitted a terrifying aura, each wave stronger than the last. Without any pretense, Blood Devil turned into a streak of bloody light and charged directly at the woman in white. His ferocious aura seemed to want to completely annihilate the woman in white. Go! The woman in white wasn't afraid at all. She pointed a finger, flashing with immortal light. The illusory figure seemed to pass through time and space, instantly appearing in front of Blood Demon. A palm imbued with destructive power struck out. Rumble. An earth-shattering battle erupted once again. Both the woman in white and Blood Demon went all out, unleashing countless killing moves. Everything within a radius of several thousand feet was turned into a battlefield of destruction, annihilating everything. I didn't expect that she would still be so powerful even with only one immortal soul. I really don't know how powerful an ancient immortal was at his peak. The Rakshasa Crown Prince, who was fighting 1 against 4, still had the leisure to watch the battle between the woman in white and Blood Demon. Great shock appeared in the Rakshasa Crown Prince's eyes when he saw the woman's shocking battle strength. If he were to fight the woman in white, he probably wouldn't be able to do anything to her. Of course, while he was still in shock, many thoughts surfaced in the Rakshasa Crown Prince's mind when he saw that Blood Demon was completely trapped by the woman in white. Now that the power of laws left behind by immortal King Zhonlong was fading away, its suppression on them was weakening. He reckoned that it wouldn't be long before he could completely break free from the suppression of immortal King Zhonlong. At that time, he would be able to seize immortal King Zhonlong's inheritance while the woman in white was still keeping Blood Demon busy. Time slowly passed, and the battle between the two battlefields grew more and more violent. Regardless of whether it was the white-clothed woman, Long Hun, or the others, all of them had sustained serious injuries. Their fighting strength had been greatly affected. On the other hand, the Rakshasa Crown Prince and Blood Demon were also injured, but their auras grew fiercer as the battle went on. By now, even Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, Dragon Soul, and the others had noticed something strange about the Rakshasa Crown Prince and Blood Demon. It seemed that the smaller Qin Yu's immortal shadow was, the more powerful the Rakshasa Crown Prince and Blood Demon were. But even if they noticed this, they couldn't do anything about it. The only thing they could do now was delay the Rakshasa Crown Prince and Blood Demon with all their strength. Only after Qin Yu finished his inheritance would they be able to turn the situation around. Rakshasa Heavenly Demon. Suddenly, an ear-piercing shriek rang out. An ancient heavenly demon shadow had appeared on the Rakshasa Crown Prince's body. That heavenly demon shadow was howling at the sky. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, Dragon Soul, and Long Hao felt like their eardrums were about to explode when they heard that shriek. It was as if some kind of destructive power was about to drill into their minds. A strand of chaotic soul power rippled from the mindless ancestor demon statue. A moment later, the soul power ripple disappeared. The ancestor demon statue froze on the spot, completely unresponsive. The soul power that Qin Yu had injected into the ancestor demon statue had been completely annihilated. Within the immortal shadow, Qin Yu, who was receiving the immortal king's inheritance, was slightly moved. He seemed to be affected as well. The pressure of a 9th-level heavenly Dao? He can already unleash the power of a 9th-level heavenly Dao cultivator. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal's expression changed drastically when he saw the terrifying heavenly demon shadow on the Rakshasa Crown Prince. He had stepped into the 9th level of the heavenly Dao before, so he knew how terrifying a 9th-level heavenly Dao existence was. To put it bluntly, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that an ancient emperor of the martial path was as weak as a child before a 9th-level heavenly Dao. Chapter 700. He broke free of the immortal spell's suppression so quickly. The white-clothed woman and Bloodseeker's expressions kept changing when they sensed the Luosha Crown Prince's terrifying aura. The seriousness in the white-clothed woman's eyes became even more intense. Just the blood demon alone was enough to make her unable to be distracted. Now, there was another 9th-level heavenly Dao expert. Her situation was getting worse and worse. As for Bloodseeker, his expression was extremely ugly. Because he had to focus on fighting the white-clothed woman, he couldn't completely break free of the immortal spell suppression. He didn't expect the Luosha Crown Prince to break free so quickly. Heavenly Beast Fis. After summoning the Luosha Heavenly Beast, the Luosha Crown Prince showed a ferocious expression. Without any hesitation, he roared and punched out. Several fist shadows tore through the air so quickly that Buried Sky Sword Saint, Long Hun, and Long Hao couldn't react at all. Bam! 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 After 3 violent collisions, Buried Sky Sword Saint and the other 2 all spat out blood and flew backward. Their auras were extremely chaotic, and they were severely injured. It was difficult for them to even stand still. As for the ancestor demon statue, it had become a puppet without Qin Yu's soul power. The Luosha Crown Prince clearly saw this, so he didn't waste any time on the ancestor demon statue. The Luosha Crown Prince was very surprised that the 3 hadn't been killed after taking a direct hit from him. Although his cultivation had only recovered to Heaven Origin, the weakest of the 9 levels of Heavenly Path, the power of Heavenly Path True Essence wasn't something that mere martial path True Essence could resist. Is this the end? Buried Sky Sword Saint, Long Hun, and Long Hao looked at the Luosha Crown Prince and the Luosha Heavenly Beast with an extremely terrifying aura. If not for Buried Sky Sword Saint's immortal power, Dragon Soul's spacetime power, and Long Hao's Eternal Sword Tomb inheritance, they wouldn't have been able to resist. There was no way the 3 of them could survive that attack. Whoosh! After glancing at the 3, the Luosha Crown Prince didn't continue attacking. His figure flashed as he charged toward Qin Yu in the immortal shadow. Their priority now was to secure the succession of the immortal Emperor Zhanlong. At this moment, the immortal shadow was only a few hundred meters tall. If it continued to be delayed, the immortal king's inheritance might completely fall into Qin Yu's hands. This was not the situation that the Rakshasa Crown Prince wanted to see. Layers of immortal shadows. The woman in white noticed the Rakshasa Emperor's intention. She looked at the blood demon, clenched her teeth, and changed her hand seal. Many mysterious celestial shadows appeared and intertwined in the air to stop the Luosha Crown Prince. Scram! The Luosha Crown Prince roared. Demonic chi surged from the Luosha heavenly demon on his body. He flapped his wings and flew toward the incoming celestial shadows. A huge battle broke out between the 2 sides. The Luosha Crown Prince gave the woman in white a sinister look. He didn't get involved in the battle. In a flash, he charged into the celestial shadow. Not good. Seeing this scene, the expressions of Long Hun, Long Hao, and the white-clothed lady changed drastically. Now, it was the critical moment of Qin Yu's inheritance. Once it was disturbed, the consequences would be extremely serious. However, they couldn't stop the Rakshasa Emperor in their current state. In the celestial shadow, sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, Qin Yu's expression suddenly changed slightly, and he slowly opened his eyes. Mysterious dragon seals appeared in the depths of his eyes. Each dragon seal contained supreme immortal might. One could clearly see that there were ancient immortal runes all over Qin Yu's body. They flickered in and out of existence, putting him in a mysterious state. Whoosh! The air shook slightly, and a murderous figure appeared in the celestial shadow. It was the Rakshasa Crown Prince, who'd charged in. The immortal king's inheritance. Seeing the ancient immortal runes on Qin Yu's body, the Rakshasa Crown Prince's eyes burned with passion. The immortal king's inheritance isn't something an ant like you can inherit. Die. In the next moment, the Rakshasa Crown Prince suddenly attacked. His figure flashed, and he charged toward Qin Yu from all directions, leaving behind layers of afterimages. This was the Rakshasa clan's ultimate killing technique, called Rakshasa Slaughters the Sky. Its power was endless. Naturally, Qin Yu wouldn't just stand there and do nothing in the face of the Rakshasa Crown Prince's surekill technique. The ancient immortal runes all over his body flickered with immortal light. Whoosh! Just as the Rakshasa Crown Prince's killing move was about to hit Qin Yu from all directions, an ancient token appeared on Qin Yu's body. A white-clothed woman appeared out of nowhere along with the snowflakes. Rumble. Following this, A deafening explosion could be heard as an icy palm over a jong wide burst out from the celestial figure. A figure was sent flying several hundred feet away by the icy palm. His aura was chaotic and violent. What happened? Dragon Soul and the others had thought that Qin Yu was in danger, but when they looked, they realized that it was the Rakshasa Crown Prince who'd been sent flying. Their expressions brightened. Could it be that Qin Yu's inheritance had ended, and he still had the power to suppress a 9th-level heavenly Tao? But the icy palm didn't have Qin Yu's aura. Even the white-clothed lady and blood demon, who were engaged in an intense battle, looked over in shock. The situation in front of them was something that even they had not expected. Cough, cough. After stabilizing himself, the Rakshasa Crown Prince coughed violently and spat out blood. 9 Palaces Emperor Force. How could such an existence appear here? After suppressing his internal injuries, the Rakshasa Crown Prince looked up at the icy light pillar with unconcealable shock. Fairy Shualan, within the celestial silhouette, Qin Yu looked at the figure whose clothes were as white as snow, accompanied by snowflakes. There was an unsuppressible excitement on his face. The figure was none other than Fairy Shualan, who'd left the heavenly domain for the snow domain. However, Fairy Shualan didn't have a physical body. She'd floated out of the snow fairy imprint, so she was probably just a soul. Fairy Shualan smiled at Qin Yu and didn't accept his words. She tapped her finger lightly, and circles of snow-white light spread out and covered the entire celestial shadow. Whoosh! Immediately, one could clearly see that the speed at which the celestial shadow was assimilating into Qin Yu's body had become extremely fast. Before long, the entire celestial shadow entered Qin Yu's body, allowing Qin Yu to absorb all of the inheritance. At the same time, Fairy Shualan's body gradually turned illusory and finally disappeared completely. The snow fairy imprint also fell from the sky. Qin Yu caught the snow fairy imprint and held it tightly in his hand. Although his cultivation had reached the 9th level of the heavenly Tao, Qin Yu still felt that there was an unreachable distance between him and Fairy Shualan. However, with immortal King Zhanlong's inheritance, Qin Yu firmly believed that one day, he would catch up to Fairy Shualan. Chapter 701. Gurgle Gurgle Gurgle. When the seal on Qin Yu's snow fairy mark was triggered, Fairy Shualan's soul power appeared. In an incomparably hot world of molten lava, a white-clothed woman was sitting cross-legged. Her eyes trembled slightly before she slowly opened them. This white-clothed woman was Shualan's true body. Have I finally reached the 9th level of the heavenly Tao? Sensing the activation of the snow fairy mark, Shualan's eyes flickered slightly. But a moment later, the flicker disappeared, and Fairy Shualan's eyes regained their indifference. That indifference was devoid of any emotion, as if she had no human emotions or desires. Roar. At this moment, an earth-shattering roar suddenly appeared in this world of molten lava. A ferocious demon formed from molten lava covered the sky and condensed in this world of molten lava. With an extremely destructive aura, it pressed down on Fairy Shualan. You are the last of the 12 ferocious primordial demons. Fairy Shualan stood up calmly and unsheathed the ancient sword on her back. Sword chi containing mysterious ancient runes spread out and filled the air. A mere mortal dares to kill me and attain the immortal Tao. Wishful thinking. After the ferocious demon roared, it turned into molten lava and instantly covered the entire world, the heavenly domain. Damn it! Has he already obtained the immortal king's inheritance? Seeing the immortal figure disappear and Qin Yu appear, the Rakshasa Crown Prince and Blood Demon's expressions darkened. Especially the Rakshasa Crown Prince. He had thought that the immortal king's inheritance would be within reach once he broke through the suppression of the heavenly domain's laws. Who would have thought that Qin Yu would have such a treasure on him? Now that the immortal king's inheritance had completely merged with Qin Yu, it would be extremely troublesome to obtain the immortal king's inheritance. Of course, even if it was troublesome, the Rakshasa Crown Prince and Blood Demon naturally wouldn't miss out on the immortal king's inheritance. After all, Qin Yu had just obtained the inheritance, and his cultivation and battle strength were extremely weak. Once Qin Yu completely controlled the immortal king's inheritance, they would have no chance at all. Success! Long Hun, Long Hao, and Burying Heaven Sword Immortal looked at Qin Yu who had appeared. Their expressions were flickering with joy. Now, the pressure that Qin Yu was emitting made their hearts palpitate. They felt as if they were facing a god. This aura, could it be? A strange expression surfaced in the eyes of the white-clothed lady. This was because the aura that Qin Yu exuded was something that even she was rather wary of. In fact, she was even a little afraid of him. How do you two want to die? Seeing that dragon soul and the others were heavily injured, Qin Yu's eyes were filled with killing intent. He looked at the Rakshasa crown prince and blood demon as if they were already dead. Humph. You have only reached the sky origin stage. Do you think you are invincible? Sensing the disappearance of the icy palm and the 9 palace emperor power that made his heart palpitate, the Luosha crown prince's expression became ferocious and terrifying again. Without the help of the 9 palace emperor power, he would not be afraid of Qin Yu even if he was in the sky origin stage. After all, the sky origin stage was the weakest of the 9 levels of the heavenly path. If the Rakshasa crown prince could completely break free of his shackles and go all out, he could easily crush a mere sky origin stage cultivator. Blood demon did not speak, but his blood-red eyes were filled with chilling killing intent. At the same time, the terrifying aura on his body grew stronger with each wave, as if it was breaking free of some kind of suppression. Heh, you are right. In the sky domain, I am invincible. Qin Yu smiled indifferently. Without further ado, he waved his sleeve. Heaven and earth immediately changed color. Rolling thunder surged between heaven and earth, oppressing one's soul. At this moment, whether it was the 9 provinces of the sky domain or the extraterritorial demons, they all felt as if an immortal god was about to descend. The pressure that came from the depths of their souls made everyone, from the ancient emperor to the savage beasts, want to kneel down and worship him. How is this possible? You. The Rakshasa crown prince, who was about to use his killing move, saw the layers of thunderclouds gathering in the sky. His eyes widened, and his expression changed drastically. Immortal spell rules. Blood demon, whose aura had been growing stronger, felt as if a giant mountain was pressing down on him. His rapidly increasing aura came to an abrupt halt. He could clearly sense that there was a layer of invisible and untouchable power scattered on his body. The power was as thin as a veil, but the divine might it contained was something Blood Demon could not resist at all. The power that had been rising in his body was instantly pushed back to the 9th level of the martial path. As I thought, the woman in white had already sensed it, so she was not very surprised. However, she was still very surprised that Qin Yu could control the immortal spell rules that Zhonlong Immortal King had left behind in the sky domain so quickly. It seemed that Qin Yu had not been chosen as the successor by Zhonlong Immortal King because of luck. Lightning fall. Qin Yu ignored the shocked Rakshasa crown prince and blood demon and gently raised his right hand. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the thunderclouds, and countless lightning dragons roiled in the clouds. It was a terrifying sight. Oh no! The Rakshasa crown prince and blood demon felt their hairs stand on end. Without thinking, they immediately used secret techniques and fled in 2 different directions. Their cultivation was currently suppressed by the immortal spell rules of the sky domain, so they could not use much of their battle strength. If he continued to stay here, not to mention obtaining the immortal king's inheritance, he might even lose his life here. Die. Qin Yu's indifferent voice sounded almost at the same time. Crack. Dazzling lightning tore through the sky, leaving a deep crack in the world. 2 extremely dazzling lightning bolts appeared alongside the lightning. A moment later, the lightning gradually dissipated. The Rakshasa crown prince and blood demon had been killed by the lightning, leaving behind only 2 balls of pure soul power. Qin Yu moved his finger, and the 2 balls of pure soul power merged into the 2 fake souls in Qin Yu's Sea of Soul. Although Zhonlong Immortal King had helped Qin Yu form the 2 fake souls, they could not exist forever. To be more precise, the soul power of the 2 fake souls was constantly flowing away. Although the loss of soul power was extremely weak, Qin Yu still had to pay attention to replenish it. Otherwise, the 2 fake souls would crumble when the soul power completely dissipated. One move. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, Long Hun, and Long Hao were dumbfounded. They had fought with their lives, but they could not even stop the Rakshasa crown prince and blood demon. However, Qin Yu was able to kill the Rakshasa Crown Prince and the Rakshasa Crown Prince merely by raising his hand. This sort of strength was truly too astonishing. Whoosh! Qin Yu stepped forward and appeared in front of Long Hao and Long Hun, whose auras were extremely unstable. He patted them lightly, and pure immortal qi merged into their bodies. "Thank you, Master." Long Hao's expression brightened. He felt his injuries recover in an instant, and even his body's foundation seemed to have undergone a transformation. His understanding of the limits of the ancient emperor and the 9 levels of the heavenly Tao had also become much clearer. Chapter 702. What's your current cultivation level? Dragon Soul asked curiously after absorbing the dragon chi and regaining a ruddy complexion. Hearing the Dragon Soul's words, Sky Barrier Sword Deity and Long Hao also looked over curiously. The heavenly domain immortals' laws made it impossible for them to sense Qin Yu's exact cultivation level. They only knew that he had reached the heavenly origin realm. Middle stage heavenly origin realm. Qin Yu didn't hide it. The heavenly Tao realm was divided into 9 major realms. Each realm was divided into 4 subrealms: early stage, mid-stage, late stage, and perfected. If immortal King Zhonlong's inheritance was completed normally, Qin Yu's cultivation level would definitely be higher than it was now. However, due to the threat of Luosha Crown Prince and Blood Immortal, Fairy Shualan's soul power appeared and helped Qin Yu complete the inheritance. As a result, Qin Yu's cultivation level was only at the mid-stage heavenly origin realm. Of course, after the transition period is over, Qin Yu's cultivation will experience a period of enormous growth. After helping Dragon Soul and Long Hao recover from their injuries, Qin Yu gave Sky Barrier Sword Immortal an Immortal Yuan Spirit Jade. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal's foundation was damaged because of this, so Qin Yu naturally couldn't owe him a favor. This Immortal Yuan Spirit Jade was one of the few immortal treasures in Immortal King Zhonlong's treasury. It contained a vast amount of immortal qi. Such a vast amount of immortal qi. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal sensed it and was extremely shocked. Then, he put it away solemnly. This Immortal Yuan Spirit Jade was undoubtedly a peerless treasure to Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, who walked the Immortal Tao. With this Immortal Yuan Spirit Jade, Sky Barrier Sword Immortal wouldn't have to search for immortal qi to cultivate in the future. "What do you want?" Qin Yu appeared in front of the white-clothed woman. This time, Luosha Crown Prince and Blood Demon had invaded. This white-clothed woman had contributed greatly. Otherwise, Dragon Soul and the other 2 wouldn't have been able to hold off Luosha Crown Prince and Blood Demon for so long. "A golden token. It's something my ancestor left behind. It can help me form an immortal body." Seeing that Qin Yu didn't plan to stand her up, the white-clothed woman was extremely excited. "Golden token?" With a command in his heart, Qin Yu's consciousness entered the treasure vault left behind by the immortal king. After a short moment, he found a sealed golden command token. The golden token seemed to be suppressing some kind of creature. There was a strong and terrifying will surging within it. Even Qin Yu felt his heart palpitate. It really fell into the hands of immortal King Zhonlong. The white-clothed woman was extremely excited. After receiving the token, she immediately sent a series of profound imprints into the golden token. With a flash of golden light, the golden token immediately entered the white-clothed woman's body. In the next moment, halos of sacred golden light radiated from the white-clothed woman's body. Her body started to solidify bit by bit, and the restriction that the 9 gods deity extermination painting had on the white-robed woman was quickly disappearing. "Let's go." After obtaining the inheritance of the immortal king, all the treasures in the immortal vault fell into Qin Yu's hands. Therefore, Qin Yu and the others did not stay in the immortal trove for long. They left the immortal trove. After obtaining the inheritance of immortal King Zhonlong and being able to control the rules of immortal spells in the heavenly domain, Qin Yu was like a god in the heavenly domain. He could go to the 9 states of the heavenly domain and the extraterritorial demon tribe with a single thought. The entire heavenly domain was under Qin Yu's control. It could be said that he truly controlled the life and death of all living beings. Of course, Qin Yu did not become arrogant because of this. He was able to do this with the help of the rules of immortal spells left behind by immortal King Zhonlong. In the heavenly domain, he was invincible. However, after leaving the heavenly domain, he was only at the initial stage of the heavenly origin realm. With the help of the rules of immortal spells, Qin Yu wiped out all the inheritances of his enemies from his previous life. Whether they escaped to the depths of the wildlands or the extraterritorial demon tribe, they could not escape. However, at this moment, Qin Yu discovered that Aodi, who had sneaked into the extraterritorial demon tribe to prepare to deal with the extraterritorial demon tribe, had disappeared. Even the entire dragon tribe in the extraterritorial demon tribe had disappeared without a trace. Qin Yu specially made a trip to the extraterritorial demon tribe's territory. There, he saw a huge dragon claw mark. That dragon claw seemed to have torn through the void and left millions of huge spatial cracks in the extraterritorial demon tribe's territory. The extraterritorial demon tribe was plunged into misery and suffering. Just the dragon claw alone was 1,000 feet long. It was hard to imagine what level of dragon tribe it was. After investigating and finding nothing, Qin Yu used the rules of immortal spells to seal the spatial crack and returned to the 9 states of the heavenly domain. A few days later, Qin Yu, Long Hao, and Long Hun returned to the Meru world where the Qin family and the Long Hao clan were. Ever since Qin Yu left, it had already been over 10 years since he returned. In these 10 years, the Qin family and the Long Hao clan had developed rapidly. Although they could not be compared to the top forces in the 9 states of the heavenly domain, they were enough to establish themselves in the 9 states. Qin Yu brought them to the sacred dragon sect to cultivate. My immortal body has been completely stabilized. It's time to leave. On this day, Qin Yu was playing with his parents when the woman in white tore through the void and appeared. Haven't you already condensed your immortal body? Why haven't you recovered to the ancient immortal realm? Qin Yu looked at the woman in white with some curiosity. He sensed an extremely terrifying pressure from the woman in white. However, the woman in white did not have the special immortal Tao fluctuations of immortal King Zhonlong in the myriad realms. The orthodox martial Tao is only the 9 levels of the martial Tao, the 9 levels of the heavenly Tao, and the legendary immortal realm. As for the ancient immortals and gods, they are all formed by the development of the martial Tao in the heavenly domain. In the entire heavenly domain, only immortal King Zhonlong has truly stepped into the immortal Tao. Therefore, if I must say, I am probably equivalent to the heavenly venerate realm now. The woman in white said. Heavenly venerate realm. Qin Yu and Long Hun were shocked when they heard this. Heavenly origin realm, heavenly wheel realm, heavenly calamity realm. Only after crossing these 3 realms could one reach the heavenly venerate realm. As expected of someone who had once stepped into the ancient immortal realm. Once she condensed her body, her cultivation reached a level that they could only look up to. My name is Sikong Fenglan. I hope we can meet again in the outer realm in the future. The woman in white cupped her fists at Qin Yu, then tore through the void and left in the direction of the immortal-seeking ancient road. It seems like it's time for us to leave the heavenly domain. Long Hun looked at Qin Yu. During this period of time, with Qin Yu's help, Long Hun had also crossed the limit of the 9 levels of the martial Tao and stepped into the heavenly origin realm. However, after entering the heavenly origin realm, Long Hun realized that the heavenly origin realm was the peak of the heavenly domain due to immortal King Zhonlong's immortal law. It could not advance any further. Yes. Qin Yu nodded slightly. During this period of time, his cultivation did not make much progress. While the immortal law protected the heavenly domain, it also limited the development of the heavenly domain's martial Tao. Although Qin Yu could control the immortal law's immortal law, he could not resist it or even change it. 3 months later, Qin Yu left the ancestral demon statue to his parents. After settling everything, he went to the immortal-seeking ancient road with Long Hun. The grudges in the heavenly domain had been settled, but Qin Yu could not stop here. His master Shentian Senzun's life and death, and Fairy Shualan's whereabouts, were all matters that concerned Qin Yu. He had to go to the Xian domain and Shui domain first. In addition, Qin Yu also wanted to see the 9 origin ancestral dragons and the eternal immortal empire that Zhonlong had mentioned. Chapter 703. Knowing that Qin Yu was leaving the heaven region, Long Hao, Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, the Jiang siblings, Lin Changqing, and the others all went to see him off. Long Hao, Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, and the others were only one step away from reaching the 9th level of the heavenly path. Because of this, the heavenly domain, which was protected by the laws of the immortal law, was the most suitable place for them to cultivate. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. 100 jong wide hole appeared in the void, and the sound of wind whistled incessantly. The hole seemed to have been formed by someone blasting open the void. The inside of the hole was grey, and nothing could be seen. Only vast and profound fluctuations spread out, tempting the cultivators who came here at all times. Immortal when ancient road. A group of figures appeared as if they had teleported, and they sized up the hole. These people were Qin Yu, the Dragon Soul, Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, and the others. It was not their first time coming to the Immortal when ancient road. Of course, only Sky Barrier Sword Immortal and Lin Changqing had entered before. Even the Jiang siblings had not explored it before. Let's go. After a while, Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul stepped into the Immortal when ancient road. The Immortal when ancient road was left behind by Immortal King Zhonlong. Martial artists in the Heaven region could leave through the Immortal when ancient road after breaking through the limits of the martial path and reaching the 9th level of the heavenly path. When Immortal King Zhonlong was asleep, there were foreign experts who sneaked into the Heaven region through the Immortal when ancient road. Of course, such a situation would not happen now. As the immortal laws of the Heaven region became stronger, the entire Heaven region was like a cage. It was easy to get out, but it was impossible to get in, unless Qin Yu personally led the way. Seeing Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul enter the Immortal when ancient road, they went in search of a higher martial path. Lin Changqing, Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, the Jiang siblings, and the others were slightly moved. Long Hao clenched his fists tightly, and his expression was determined. It would not be long before he stepped onto the Immortal when ancient road, and followed in Qin Yu's footsteps. After entering the Immortal seeking ancient road, Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul saw an ancient road that extended to the ends of the starry skies. They couldn't see the end of it, and had no idea where it led to. Hoo. On the Immortal seeking ancient road, there were ear-splitting gusts of wind sweeping past at all times, filled with an incomparably destructive might. Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul immediately circulated their heavenly Tao veritable essence energy to barely resist. The deeper one ventured into the ancient road, the more terrifying the dangers that appeared along the way. There were meteorites falling from the sky, heavenly flames burning, floods sweeping across, cracks in the void that appeared without warning and could cut through everything, and there were world-destroying ferocious beasts that only existed in myths and legends. If Qin Yu and Long Hao were not protected by the immortal artifacts of the Battle Dragon Immortal Emperor, they would not have been able to avoid the danger so easily. Qin Yu felt fortunate that he had left behind immortal treasures for his first senior brother, Long Hao, and the other two. Thinking about it, when they stepped onto the immortal seeking ancient road in the future, even if they couldn't make it through, they would still be able to return to the Heaven region safely. It's here, the world crossing sea. After a total of 10 days and 10 nights, a vast and boundless sea of stars appeared before Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul. This sea of stars was called the World Crossing Sea, and it was the boundary that separated the heavenly domain and the outer domain. If an ordinary martial artist crossed this boundary, it was basically impossible for them to return to the heavenly domain. Unless they were like the buried Sky Sword Immortal, who had coincidentally reincarnated and returned to the heavenly domain. After crossing the World Crossing Sea, we will be in the real outer domain. Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul were excited. In both their previous and current lives, they had always wanted to leave the heavenly domain and head to the outer domain to pursue a higher martial world. Now, this day had finally arrived. Qin Yu moved his left hand and took out the Snow Immortal imprint. Although the Snow Immortal imprint could no longer protect Qin Yu as Fairy Shualan's soul power had disappeared. However, with the Snow Immortal imprint, Qin Yu could go to the snow domain where Fairy Shualan was. Judging from the scene back then, Fairy Shualan should have caused a big commotion in the snow domain. As long as he went to the snow domain, he should be able to find clues about Fairy Shualan. As for the Xian domain, Qin Yu had not gone to his master's whereabouts yet. Sikong Fonglan had once said that Star Luo's cultivation had most likely reached the Sky Saint realm. Although Qin Yu was eager to save his master, he would not foolishly go to his death. Therefore, the most important thing for Qin Yu now was to find Fairy Shualan. Dong. The moment they stepped into the sea of stars, a ripple appeared in the void. The celestial spell laws on Qin Yu and the dragon soul also completely disappeared at this moment, not leaving a trace. It also meant that this place was completely out of the area covered by the immortal Emperor Zhon Long's celestial spell laws. Qin Yu and Long Hao turned around to look. They discovered that the immortal seeking ancient road had already disappeared. Behind them was also a vast sea of stars. Of course, Qin Yu could still sense the existence of the immortal seeking ancient road. When Qin Yu crossed the boundary of the heaven domain and entered the realm-crossing sea. It was a world with 9 blazing suns, wantonly roasting the earth. A figure with a leaf in his mouth and his hands behind his head, lying down on an ancient tree to enjoy the shade, suddenly opened his eyes. He left the heaven domain so soon? Does that mean he has already obtained the succession of the immortal Emperor Zhon Long? If Qin Yu were to appear here, he would definitely recognize that this man looked exactly the same as his previous incarnation. It was the mysterious person that the heaven-burying sword immortal had met in the demon tribe. His pace is pretty fast. I hope he won't stumble again this time. The person slowly closed his eyes and chewed on the leaf leisurely. At the same time, in an extremely dark deep sea without the slightest bit of light, an immemorial ferocious beast of unknown size, Kuanpeng, suddenly trembled. A young man in a black outfit who was sleeping on the Kuanpeng slowly opened his eyes as if he had sensed something. As the young man opened his eyes, the dark sea immediately brightened up. King. Countless powerful creatures in the sea were awakened. They knelt respectfully toward the young man in a black outfit. The entire sea fell silent. The young man in a black outfit sat up lazily. He looked in a certain direction and murmured, "Is he back? Such a strong aura. Is this what the heaven-burying sword immortal meant by the different rules of the outer realm?" In the realm-crossing sea of stars, Qin Yu and the dragon soul used an ancient talisman to summon a spiritual boat that traveled rapidly in the realm-crossing sea of stars. After the initial excitement, Qin Yu and Long Hao realized that the outer realm was filled with an indescribable aura. That kind of aura seemed to freeze the air and the void. They could travel 10,000 miles in an instant in the heaven domain, but in the realm-crossing sea of stars, they couldn't even fly, let alone travel 10,000 miles. It was as if they had just started cultivating. The heaven-burying sword immortal had told Qin Yu and Long Hao that the rules of the outer realm were different from the heaven domain. However, Qin Yu and Long Hao didn't understand what the so-called different rules of the outer realm meant until they experienced it themselves. Chapter 704. With the help of the snow immortal mark, he could sense a faint ripple of energy from the snow domain. Qin Yu and the dragon soul sat on the ancient talisman spirit vessel and traveled rapidly toward the snow domain in the boundless starry realm crossing sea. A month passed in the blink of an eye. Rumble. On this day, when Qin Yu and the dragon soul were hurrying on their journey and absorbing origin energy to cultivate, the sky suddenly darkened. It was as if the curtain of night had descended. Along with the darkening of the sky, an extremely terrifying and vast divine might appeared. Fat. Qin Yu and the dragon soul who were in the middle of training were suddenly suppressed by that boundless divine might. Their bodies shook and they spat out a mouthful of blood. What's that? The dragon soul's eyes widened in astonishment when it looked up. Qin Yu promptly raised his head to look. Only then did he discover that it was not night time. Instead, in the sky above, there was an enormous beast that covered the entire sky. The gigantic beast could be said to have covered the sky and the sun. Wherever it passed, its shadow would cover everything. Not a single ray of light could enter. It's shaped like a turtle, completely black, and has 6 legs. Is this the legendary dark beast of starry sky? When Qin Yu saw the appearance of that enormous beast, he immediately thought of an ancient beast that had only appeared in legends even in the myriad realms of the universe. According to the records of the battle dragon immortal emperor, the dark beasts of starry sky were born in the endless starry sky. Their bodies were tens of thousands of li wide when they were born. They fed on the stars and lived in the star ocean. An adult dark beast of starry sky could grow to a few million li wide. They could easily destroy a star region. Every time a dark beast of starry sky appeared, it would bring a great calamity. Whoosh! While Qin Yu and the dragon soul were astonished by the size of the dark beast of starry sky, a giant whirlpool suddenly appeared in the star ocean. The whirlpool was tens of thousands of li wide. The ancient talisman spirit vessel that Qin Yu and the dragon soul were on happened to be in the middle of the whirlpool. No matter how hard Qin Yu tried, he could not control the ancient talisman spirit vessel. Therefore, Qin Yu and the dragon soul could only abandon the vessel and flee as far as they could from the whirlpool. Judging from the size of the whirlpool, there was no doubt that there was an extremely terrifying creature in the star transboundary sea. It might even be stronger than the dark beast of starry sky. Boom! Suddenly, the sea water at the center of the whirlpool exploded, sending waves tens of thousands of li high. A ferocious behemoth tens of thousands of kilometers in size rose from the vortex and bit at the dark star beast in the sky. The ferocious beast that charged out of the realm-crossing sea had the body of a flood dragon. It had no horns on its head, claws on its abdomen, and wings on its back. Its wings of starry sky covered starry sky starry night starry sky eye. Deep sea dragon again, the dragon starry sky. This deep sea giant was no less powerful than the dark beasts. Dragon blood was starry sky dragon was a legendary creatures of origin. It was rumored that they preyed on true dragons, heavenly phoenixes, and other Yantian life forms. From the looks of it, the rumors were probably true. The deep-sea giant Jiao dragon was clearly targeting the dark star beast. Roar! The starry sky dark beast sensed this and let out a heaven-shaking roar. Its 6 legs stomped fiercely in the air. After the tens of thousands of stars condensed, they actually evolved into 6 stars that bombarded the deep-sea giant dragon that was flapping its wings. Those were real stars. Each one of them was incomparably huge and contained boundless stellar energy. Roar! The deep-sea giant flood dragon showed no signs of weakness. Its mouth was like a black hole, and its claws were like divine blades. The 6 stars were either crushed, devoured, or destroyed. They didn't cause any damage to the deep-sea colossal flood dragon, which then crashed into the stardark beast. Rumble! Immediately, the 2 legendary ferocious beasts began a battle of life and death. The heavens and earth shook, and the tsunamis came one after another. As the 2 ferocious beasts fought, countless huge abyss-like spatial rifts appeared in the void, swallowing everything in their way. The seawater disappeared into those spatial rifts in an instant. Fortunately, these 2 ferocious beasts were fighting on the world-crossing sea. If it were anywhere else, it would have caused an immeasurable disaster. Not good. Of course, for Qin Yu and the dragon soul, who were unable to escape from the battle, it was not an exaggeration to say that it was a disaster. In the face of the extremely terrifying aftermath, they were unable to resist at all, and their injuries became more serious. To make matters worse, the spatial rifts were increasing in number, and the spatial fluctuations were becoming more and more chaotic. The entire world shook violently as if it would collapse at any time. Qin Yu and the dragon soul had completely become a lone boat in the chaotic sea, and they could be drowned at any time. Spacetime slow flow. Spacetime illusory realm. Spacetime horizontal shift. Sensing that the spatial fluctuations were becoming more and more violent, the dragon soul's hands kept changing as it immediately used its spacetime superpower. As its cultivation reached the heavenly origin realm, the dragon soul's spacetime superpower had also reached another level. It was called spacetime horizontal shift, and it could move the void, which was similar to space teleportation. Of course, the spacetime horizontal shift could not move the user. However, it could still be used as a killing technique at a critical moment. Unfortunately, although the spacetime Tao was extremely mysterious, it was still not enough in front of these 2 legendary ferocious beasts. In an instant, the spacetime defense set up by the dragon soul collapsed inch by inch, and it was unable to resist at all. I can only give it a try. Qin Yu's expression was extremely solemn as he took out an ancient divine talisman. This was one of the few divine talismans in the Zhonlong Celestial King's treasury. It was called the Divine Travel Talisman, and it was rumored that it could allow one to travel 10,000 miles in an instant. It was a supreme life-saving method. Of course, to activate this divine travel talisman, it required a huge amount of energy to support it. With Qin Yu's current cultivation, the consequences of forcefully activating the divine travel talisman would be extremely serious. However, given the current situation, he could not care so much. If he continued to wait, he would only be buried in the chaotic battle between the two star beasts. Whoosh! After making preparations, Qin Yu poured all of the Zhonlong celestial origin energy in his body into the divine travel talisman. As the divine travel talisman glowed faintly, Qin Yu and the dragon soul could only feel the scene in front of them moving at the speed of light. In just an instant, they were thousands of miles away from their previous location. Seeing that they were about to leave the battlefield, the pale-faced Qin Yu and the dragon soul were overjoyed. As long as they activated the divine travel talisman one more time, they would be able to leave the battlefield completely. Crack! However, at that moment, an extremely clear cracking sound entered Qin Yu and the dragon soul's ears. In an instant, Qin Yu and the dragon soul saw that the surrounding space had turned incomparably pitch black and chaotic. Qin Yu and the dragon soul were startled. They turned around and saw a few 100 feet wide spatial rift appear in their sight. The space they were in had turned into a spatial rift in an instant. Damn it! Before Qin Yu and the dragon soul could even react, the spatial turbulence that contained a destructive might had already drowned the two of them. Chapter 705. After a long period of darkness, Qin Yu gradually regained consciousness. In a daze, he sensed that there were more than 10 living beings around him. Is this a human? No, he has the demonic aura. Is he not a pure human? He is so severely injured. Was he attacked by a wild beast? He is lucky to be able to survive after encountering a wild beast. Miss, what should we do with him? Since we have encountered him, let's bring him back. After hearing the discussion, Qin Yu felt that he was lifted up by someone and left shakily. While swaying, Qin Yu slowly fell asleep again. Although he could not sense it clearly, Qin Yu knew that his condition was very serious. It was very likely that he had injured his core. After all, he was lucky to be able to escape from the spatial turbulence. What made Qin Yu feel relieved was that he could still sense the aura of the dragon soul. It seemed that the dragon soul was not in danger and it seemed to have landed in the same area as him. After an unknown period of time, Qin Yu woke up again. He half sat up and a house that was covered with fire runes appeared in his sight. The whole house was filled with dense fire elemental energy. It made one feel as if they were in a furnace. However, the fire elemental energy was very gentle and there was no sense of violence. The pressure of heaven and earth does not seem to be that strong. After getting out of bed, Qin Yu realized that the pressure of heaven and earth in the void was not at the same level as the pressure of heaven and earth in the realm-crossing sea. Although Qin Yu could not fly in the air, he did not feel like he was being suppressed. Thinking of this, Qin Yu immediately sat down with his legs crossed and sank his consciousness into his body to sense the injuries in his body. The situation was as he had expected before he fainted. His injuries were very serious and even the foundation of his body was damaged. However, judging from the injuries in his body, it seemed that someone had healed him when he was in a coma. In addition, Qin Yu's cultivation had fallen from the middle stage of Heavenly Yuan to the Martial Emperor realm. To Qin Yu, the drop in cultivation was within his expectations, so he wasn't surprised. Furthermore, if he only fell to the Martial Emperor realm, Qin Yu would soon be able to return to the 9th level of the Heavenly Law. Creak. At this moment, the flame-like door was pushed open. A fiery red figure walked in. It was a 15 or 16-year-old girl. Her facial features were delicate and pretty, but her eyes were as red as flames. One could even faintly see flames rising from them. Despite her young age, her cultivation was not to be underestimated, as she had reached the 7th layer martial progenitor realm. If he was in the heaven domain, he would definitely be able to look down on his peers. Of course, the reason why the martial Tao of the heaven domain had declined was because the entire heaven domain had been sealed by the immortal art of the battle dragon immortal emperor. As a result, the heavenly origin stage was the limit of the martial path. Naturally, There wouldn't be another genius who could compete with the 10,000 realms. Hey! When Qin Yu saw the young girl, he was surprised. Judging from the fiery aura emanating from the girl, he could easily tell that she wasn't a human. How did you wake up so soon? Hua Yuana was astounded when she saw Qin Yu getting off the bed. With the severity of Qin Yu's injuries, she originally thought that it was extremely likely that Qin Yu would not wake up. Did you save me? Hua Yuana's voice sounded familiar to Qin Yu, as if he had heard it before he fainted. You were severely injured and unconscious in the desolate ancient mountain range. Our people happened to be collecting herbs there, so we brought you back. Hua Yuana nodded slightly and took out a pill bottle filled with pills. Thanks. Qin Yu expressed his thanks solemnly. He was no longer in the heaven domain. If he had fainted due to his injuries, he might have ended up in the stomachs of the beasts. The desolate ancient mountain range is a forbidden area in the west. Why did you go there alone? Hua Yuana asked curiously. Venturing into the desolate ancient mountain range alone with a cultivation of the martial monarch realm was no different than courting death. Pardon me for asking, but where is this place? Qin Yu had no idea what the desolate ancient mountain range was. What he needed to do now was to heal his injuries and recover his cultivation. Secondly, he needed to figure out where he was so that he could find the dragon soul. Here. This is the land of the fire spirit tribe, located in the flaming demon mountain range. Aren't you from the fire domain? Hua Yuana asked curiously. She seemed to have recovered from her shock and asked in surprise, I'm not from the fire domain. Indeed, I'm not from the blaze domain. It's just that when I was exploring an ancient ruin, I accidentally triggered a restriction and fell into the blaze domain. Qin Yu nodded slightly. You're from the other domain? Which martial domain are you from? Hua Yuana's eyes lit up with curiosity. Eldest miss. Just as Qin Yu was about to come up with an excuse, a burly man with a height of 6 feet appeared. The burly man was wearing a blazing armor, and his body emitted a scorching aura. It was as if he would burst into flames at any moment, and even the air was slightly distorted. His cultivation had already reached the heavenly origin stage. Although he was only at the initial stage of the heavenly origin stage, it was clear that the fire spirit tribe had a strong foundation. At the very least, they were at the 9th level of the heavenly path. Uncle Qing, what's the matter? Hua Yuana turned around and asked. The patriarch has something important to discuss with you. Hua Yuana said. Something important? All right. Hua Yuana could only suppress his curiosity and leave the room. Hua Qing followed him, but before she left, she glanced at Qin Yu with obvious vigilance and distrust in her eyes. She had probably appeared so quickly because she had sensed Qin Yu's awakening. Qin Yu didn't mind Hua Qing's vigilance. Judging from Hua Yuana's attitude toward Hua Qing should have a high status in the fire spirit tribe. However, Hua Qing's cultivation was only at the initial stage of the heavenly origin stage. As long as Qin Yu recovered his cultivation, there would be no need to worry about any danger. Therefore, after Hua Yuana and Hua Qing left, Qin Yu set up a barrier in the room to block perception. Then, he immediately absorbed pure dragon qi from the ancient seal of the divine dragon into his body to heal his injuries. With the primordial battle dragon ART's regenerative secret technique, Qin Yu's injuries healed at an astonishing speed. At the same time, in the main hall of the fire spirit tribe. Father, you were looking for me? Hua Yuana stepped into the hall, which was already filled with the upper echelons of the fire spirit tribe. However, the one sitting in the main seat wasn't the patriarch of the fire spirit tribe, Hua Xiao. Instead, it was a white-haired old man in a yin-yang robe with an otherworldly aura. Yuana, come quickly. Greet Senior True Crane. Hua Xiao's smile widened when he saw Hua Yuana. Senior True Crane. Hua Yuana bowed respectfully, but he was a little surprised. Why would this white-haired old man come to the fire spirit tribe? Senior True Crane's true form was a wild crane. His cultivation was at the Heavenly Wheel Realm, and he was one of the few Heavenly Wheel Realm experts in the Fire Demon Mountain Range. Chapter 706. You've reached the martial progenitor realm at such a young age. You're quite talented. After sizing up Hua Yuana, True Crane nodded in satisfaction. Senior Zhan He, in terms of talent, I'm afraid no one in the younger generation of the Flaming Demon Mountain Range can compare to Yuana. Among the fire spirit race, a muscular man with a flaming beard stood up and said with a smile. He was Hua Xiao's younger brother, Hua Quan. Hearing Zhan He and Hua Quan's words and seeing how excited Hua Xiao and the others were, Hua Yuana's expression changed slightly. He seemed to have guessed something and became excited. Girl, are you willing to become this old man's disciple? Zhan He asked Hua Yuana as he stroked his beard. Hua Xiao, Hua Quan, and the other higher-ups of the fire spirit race all looked at Hua Yuana. Judging from their expressions, they couldn't wait to nod in Hua Yuana's place. Accept a disciple? However, Hua Qing, who had brought Hua Yuana here, had a strange look in her eyes. This disciple is willing. Hua Yuana naturally wouldn't refuse and immediately bowed. Zhan He was one of the top experts in the Flaming Demon Mountain Range. If she could become Zhan his disciple, it would be a joyous occasion for both her and the fire spirit race. All right, get up. With your talent, and with this old man's guidance, it is possible for you to join the Beast King Island to cultivate in the future. Zhan He nodded with a smile. This was his true motive for taking her as a disciple. Beast King Island. Hua Yuana and the other members of the fire spirit race were overjoyed. Beast King Island was one of the top factions in the western part of the fire domain. Countless powerful monsters gathered there and were ruled by the Beast King. In the entire western part, only the top of the younger generation had the right to cultivate there. There were thousands of monster cultivators in the Flaming Demon Mountain Range, and all of them were proud to be able to join Beast King Island. Go and prepare. From today onwards, you'll go out with me to train. Try to meet the requirements when the Beast King Palace recruits disciples. Zhan He said. We're leaving today? Hua Yuana was stunned. Senior Zhan He, isn't this a little too hasty? Hua Xiao and the others hadn't expected Zhan He to immediately take Hua Yuana away. In 2 years, the Beast King Palace's assessment will be held. If you cannot reach the Emperor realm in 2 years, you will not be eligible to participate in the assessment. If you miss this opportunity, you will have to wait for another 5 years. 2 years plus 5 years, a round trip will take 7 years. After 7 years, even if you pass the Beast King Palace's assessment, with your age, I'm afraid you won't be focused on training anymore. True Crane said. Yes, I'll go prepare it now. Hua Yuana immediately understood what was going on. Hua Xiao and the others immediately sent people to make preparations. Patriarch, the first miss is engaged to the young patriarch of the demonic bear tribe. The marriage will be held at the end of the year. If the first miss leaves like this, I'm afraid it will be difficult to explain to the demonic bear tribe. At this moment, Hua Qing took a step forward and spoke to Hua Xiao and the others. That's right. How could I forget about this? We still have a marriage alliance with the demonic bear tribe. If we break the agreement just like that, I'm afraid we'll anger the demon bear tribe. What should we do? Hearing Hua Qing's words, the members of the fire spirit tribe whispered to each other. Hua Xiao, Hua Quan, and the others also looked troubled. The demonic bear tribe was the overlord of the fire demon mountain range. The fire spirit tribe couldn't afford to offend them. Hua Yuana, who was originally happy, couldn't help but become gloomy when he heard about the demonic bear tribe. You have a marriage alliance with the demonic bear tribe? Even True Crane hesitated when he heard about the demonic bear tribe. It was rumored that the demonic bear tribe's patriarch was about to cross the heavenly wheel realm and enter the calamity realm. True Crane's cultivation was only at the late stage of the heavenly wheel realm. Even if the demonic bear tribe's patriarch couldn't enter the calamity realm, it was enough to suppress him. Hua Yuana saw that True Crane was also wary of the demonic bear tribe. Her expression became gloomier and she sighed softly in her heart. She originally thought that becoming True Crane's disciple could change her fate, but now it seemed that nothing could be changed. Senior True Crane, how about this? I'll report this matter to the demonic bear tribe and let them choose a date to hold the marriage alliance in advance. After the marriage alliance, you can bring Yuana out to train. Hua Xiao tried to make a suggestion. The reason why they had a marriage alliance with the demonic bear tribe was because they didn't have a heavenly wheel realm expert in their tribe. They were constantly oppressed by the other powerful demonic bear tribes in the Fire Demon Mountain range. Therefore, they didn't want to offend the demonic bear tribe, but they also didn't want to give up on their relationship with True Crane. With a Heavenly Wheel Realm expert as their backer, the Fire Spirit tribe's status in the Fire Demon Mountain range would increase by a lot. If that's the case, it's fine, but it can't be delayed for too long. True Crane pondered for a while, then nodded slightly in agreement. We'll send a letter to the demonic bear tribe immediately. Hua Xiao and the others immediately sent someone to inform the demonic bear tribe. The upper echelons of the Fire Spirit tribe were all busy. Night fell, and the bright moon hung high in the sky. Qin Yu sat cross-legged in the house, and an extremely strong dragon aura boiled around him. One could clearly feel that Qin Yu's aura, which was still weak and chaotic during the day, was now stable and steady. It was even becoming stronger. Roar. In the middle of the night, a faint dragon roar came out of Qin Yu's body. Qin Yu, who had his eyes closed, slowly opened them. A sacred dragon shadow flashed across his eyes. My injuries are almost healed. In a few more days, I will be able to recover my cultivation. Qin Yu stood up, waved his hand to disperse the barrier in the house, and walked out of the house curiously. This was the first time Qin Yu had come to the outer realm, and he hadn't seen the fire domain yet. Qin Yu jumped to the roof of the house, and sized up the land of the Fire Spirit tribe. The Fire Spirit tribe was located in a valley, and the houses were built with warm jade stones. But from the number of houses, there didn't seem to be many Fire Spirit tribe members. There were only a few thousand of them. Outside the valley where the Fire Spirit tribe was located, there was a mountain range with countless towering ancient trees. At a glance, one couldn't see the end of it, and didn't know how big it was. In the air of the entire mountain range, there was a visible light red airflow, as if flames were everywhere. What a strange demonic chi fluctuation. After sizing up the Fire Demon Mountain range, Qin Yu vaguely sensed a special demonic chi fluctuation from the depths of the Fire Demon Mountain range. The demonic chi fluctuation was faintly similar to the dragon blood in Qin Yu's body. Is there a dragon here? This thought came to Qin Yu's mind, and he immediately used a secret technique to sense it. After a while, Qin Yu's eyes lit up. Although he couldn't sense it clearly due to the pressure of heaven and earth, Qin Yu did sense a very weak demonic chi fluctuation from the depths of the Fire Demon Mountain range. This made Qin Yu very excited. If he could refine a dragon, and with the inheritance of the Battle Dragon Immortal King, Qin Yu's cultivation would improve at lightning speed. Chapter 707. Qin Yu retracted his gaze. He planned to explore the depths of the Fire Demon Mountain range tomorrow. However, at this moment, Qin Yu saw a figure standing on a tower a few dozen feet away. A small figure was hugging her knees as she sat helplessly on the top of the tower. She stared blankly at the bright moon in the sky as tears streamed down her delicate face. That figure was Hua Yuana. Hua Yuana seemed to have sensed Qin Yu's gaze. She regained her senses and tilted her head to look in Qin Yu's direction. When she saw Qin Yu, she hurriedly wiped her face and wiped away her tears, as if she was embarrassed to be seen by an outsider. Did something happen to the Fire Spirit tribe? Qin Yu's expression changed slightly. Hua Yuana seemed to have encountered something big. At this thought, Qin Yu prepared to ask about it. After all, Hua Yuana had saved his life before. But at that moment, Hua Yuana had already leaped down from the tower and disappeared. Seeing this, Qin Yu could only restrain his thoughts and prepare to leave the roof. Chirp! Suddenly, a strange bird's cry came from the mountain range in the distance. The Fire Demon Mountain range was home to many members of the demonic tribe. Qin Yu did not pay much attention to the cries of birds and beasts at night. Swoosh! However, at this moment, a black figure quickly left the Fire Spirit tribe's territory from a house in the distance. That is, Qin Yu was slightly taken aback. He narrowed his eyes. That person was Hua Qing, whom he had seen during the day. Seeing Hua Qing sneakily leaving and thinking about Hua Yuana from earlier, Qin Yu pondered for a moment and then secretly followed her. Although Qin Yu's cultivation had not recovered and was still at the martial emperor realm, it was not difficult for him to follow Hua Qing, who was only at the early heavenly yuan stage. In a short moment, Qin Yu followed Huaqing and left the territory of the Fire Spirit clan. They arrived before a 10,000-foot tall waterfall. There were already several figures waiting at the waterfall. Those people were also from the Demon clan. However, unlike the Fire Spirit clan, they had extremely powerful Demon clan bloodline auras. What's going on? Why did the Fire Spirit race's higher-ups suddenly change their mind and want to advance the marriage? Seeing Huaqing's arrival, a middle-aged man with a height and build that was even stronger than Huaqing asked in a low and muffled voice. They were all from the demonic bear tribe and they were all at the sky origin stage. True Crane suddenly came and wanted to take Huayuan as his disciple. He even planned to take Huayuan out to train. That's why the entire Fire Spirit race changed their minds. Huaqing said quickly after looking around vigilantly. He wants to take Huayuan as his disciple? Why does it have to be this time? After the strong middle-aged man heard this, his face turned ugly. They had been planning for so long, and they only had to wait for their ancestor to come out of seclusion before they could take down the Fire Spirit race and gradually dominate the entire Fire Demon mountain range. Who would have thought that such an unforeseen event would occur? Is it possible to get the Patriarch to come out of seclusion in advance? Huaqing asked. No, it's an important moment for our ancestor to break through to the calamity stage. We can't disturb our ancestor. It seems like we can only carry out our plan to take over the Fire Spirit race later. The strong middle-aged man said unwillingly. That's right. If our ancestor can break through to the calamity stage, he can also destroy the Fire Spirit race and obtain their ancestors' supreme secret technique. At that time, he can also dominate the Fire Demon mountain range. The other members of the demonic bear tribe nodded in agreement. I'm afraid that's not possible. True Crane took Huayuan as his disciple because he thinks highly of Huayuan's talent. There's a possibility that she could join the Beast King Island to train. Therefore, Huayuan will probably only return after 2 years. If we can't get rid of Huayuan and she really joins the Beast King Island to train, there will be no end of trouble in the future, Huaqing said slowly after shaking his head slightly. This was also the reason why he mentioned the marriage with the demonic bear tribe in the hall during the day. Beast King Island? Is Huayuan's talent that amazing? If that's the case, it will be troublesome. Even our demonic bear tribe doesn't have any clansmen who can enter the Beast King Island to train. Indeed. Almost all the powerful demonic bear tribe experts in the west of the Fire Domain have gathered on the Beast King Island. Their strength is unfathomable. Any expert that Huayuan joins can easily destroy us. The Heavenly Yuan Realm members of the demonic bear tribe were extremely surprised and kept discussing. I heard that as long as an outstanding genius is recommended to join the Beast King Island, the person who recommended them may also enter the Beast King Island to train. It seems like his goal is also to enter the Beast King Island. The strong middle-aged man seemed to have thought of something and his face turned even uglier. Therefore, we have to settle this before Huayuan leaves. Huaqing said in a deep voice. We have to go back and report this matter to the Patriarch. The strong middle-aged man and the others looked at each other and couldn't make a decision. The marriage will take place in 5 days. There's not much time left. I will make preparations in the Fire Spirit race so that I can support you at any time. Huaqing nodded and turned to leave. The Heavenly Yuan Realm members of the demonic bear tribe also left without delay. Are they planning to attack the Fire Spirit race from the inside? After Huaqing and the others left, a figure appeared on a towering ancient tree like a ghost. It was Qin Yu. Qin Yu didn't know the specific plan of Huaqing and the others, but he had a rough idea. After thinking for a while, Qin Yu's figure flashed and disappeared into the night. The next day. Hey, are you going out? Qin Yu had just left the house when he bumped into Huayuan. Huayuan couldn't help but be surprised to see Qin Yu brimming with energy overnight. His terrifying recovery ability was even more frightening than a pure demonic bear tribe's. Yes. Thanks to Miss Huayuan's care, my injuries have mostly healed, so I want to go out for a walk. Qin Yu nodded slightly. He was going to the depths of the Fire Demon mountain range to search for the dragon tribe's aura. As for Huayuan crying last night, Qin Yu didn't ask, seeing that Huayuana didn't want to talk about it. As for Huaqing, Qin Yu didn't know how to remind her. Go out for a walk. Although you have the demonic bear tribe's bloodline, you also have the aura of a human. If you wander alone in the Fire Demon Mountain range, you will be targeted by other demonic bears. Huayuana couldn't help but remind him. The demonic bear tribe gathered in the Fire Demon Mountain range and killed each other on a daily basis, not to mention Qin Yu, who was half demonic bear tribe. Don't worry. Although my cultivation isn't high, I still have many life-saving methods. Qin Yu smiled faintly. Judging from the words of the demonic bear tribe members last night, the top existences in the Fire Demon Mountain range were probably at the Calamity stage. Otherwise, the demonic bear tribe wouldn't be so confident that they could dominate the Fire Demon Mountain range when their ancestor broke through to the Calamity stage. Chapter 708. This is a map of the Flaming Demon Mountain range. It's marked with the territories of the various demon clans, as well as the territories of some dangerous desolate beasts. Keep an eye on it and don't wander around. Seeing Qin Yu so persistent, Huayuana was a bit helpless. He took out a map of the Fire Demon Mountain range from his spatial ring and handed it to Qin Yu. Map. Miss Yuana, does your clan have a map of the Fire Domain and beyond? Qin Yu's eyes lit up when he saw the map. If he could get a map of the Outer Realms, he wouldn't have to go to the Snow Domain to find Fairy Shualan or the Mystic Domain to save his master. We have a map of the Fire Domain, but we don't have a map of the Outer Realms. However, we have an ancient book in our clan that records many rumors about the Outer Realms. Come with me. Huayuana led Qin Yu to the library of the Fire Spirit clan. There, they found a map of the Fire Domain and a thick ancient book. From the map, they could see that the Flaming Demon Mountain range where the Fire Spirit clan lived was only a small, remote mountain range in the western part of the Fire Domain. Beyond the mountain range was the vast Fire Domain. From the size of the Flaming Demon Mountain range on the map, they could tell that the Fire Domain was larger than the 9 prefectures of the Heaven Domain. However, it was still smaller than the 9 prefectures of the Heaven Domain and the Outer Realm Demon Clan combined. Overall, it was probably only 2/3 of the entire Heaven Domain. As for the thick ancient book, it did indeed record the Fire Domain and the Martial Domain beyond it. The Fire Domain belonged to the Great Spirit World, one of the 10 Great Spirit Worlds. Its strength was at the bottom of the Great Spirit World. Qin Yu knew about the 10 Great Spirit Worlds from the memories of immortal King Zhonlong. The Martial Domain was divided into 10 Great Spirit Worlds. Each Great Spirit World had thousands or even thousands of martial domains. The Snow Domain. After reading for a long time, Qin Yu narrowed his eyes. He found information about the Snow Domain in the ancient book. The Snow Domain wasn't in the Great Spirit World, but in the All-Heaven World, one of the 10 Great Spirit Worlds. Although he didn't know how far it was from the Fire Domain, since it was in a different world, it naturally wasn't something he could travel to in a short period of time. As for the Xian Domain, perhaps because the ancient book was incomplete, Qin Yu was unable to find it. He could only wait until he left the Fire Spirit race and went to the major factions of the Fire Domain to investigate. By the way, which martial field did you come from? Huayuana was still curious about Qin Yu's background. She, who had always lived in the Fire Spirit race, had at most wandered the lands outside the Fire Demon Mountain range. He was naturally very interested in the martial domains outside of the Fire Domain. Xian region. Qin Yu did not mention the Heaven Domain. Judging from the fact that Xing Luo, Blood Demon, Luo Sho Crown Prince, and the others had sneaked into the Heaven Realm to look for Zhonlong Immortal King's succession, the Heaven Realm must be quite famous in the 10,000 Realms world. Qin Yu didn't want to be targeted because of this. After all, whether it was Star Luo, the Rakshasa Crown Prince, or the Blood Demon, they were all people with great backgrounds in other martial domains. Mysterious domain? I've never heard of it before. What kind of world is it? As Huayuana asked Qin Yu curiously, several elders of the Fire Spirit race passed by. First Miss. Those elders all greeted Huayuana. Not only was Huayuana the first Miss of the Fire Spirit race, but she was also True Crane's disciple. More importantly, she was about to marry the monstrous bear race. Her status in the Fire Spirit race was much higher than before. Uncle Qing, Fourth elder, fifth elder. Hua Yuana returned the greeting. Qin Yu's eyes flashed when he saw Hua Qing. Qin Yu had found out Hua Qing's identity from the fire spirit race. She was a direct descendant of the fire spirit race and had the same grandfather as Hua Yuana's father. Qin Yu couldn't understand why someone of Hua Qing's status would collude with outsiders to secretly attack the fire spirit race. First miss, you're about to go out with senior True Crane to train. I'm afraid you won't be able to return for a year or two. You should spend more time with the patriarch. Hua Qing glanced at Qin Yu. When she saw that Qin Yu's injuries had recovered, a strange light flashed in her eyes. Hua Qing had always been wary of Qin Yu, who had been rescued by Hua Yuana. Qin Yu, who was only at the martial emperor realm, gave her a sense of danger. Uncle Qing is right. Hua Yuana nodded obediently. Miss Yuana, keep this transportation talisman. If you encounter any danger in the future, just crush the ancient talisman and I'll be able to come to your rescue. After Hua Qing and the others left, Qin Yu pondered for a moment and took out a transportation talisman. This transportation talisman was refined by Qin Yu. Even if Qin Yu was halfway across the fire domain, he could still teleport over. All right. Although Hua Yuana did not know why Qin Yu would suddenly give her a transportation talisman, she did not reject it. Of course, Hua Yuana did not think that the transportation talisman would be of any use. After all, Qin Yu's cultivation was only at the martial emperor realm. On the other hand, her master True Crane was at the heavenly Yuan realm. The two of them were not on the same level. If there was a danger that even her master could not deal with, Qin Yu would not be able to help. Also, you'd better tell your father and master to be on guard against Hua Qing. Qin Yu, who was about to leave, stopped in his tracks and reminded Hua Yuana. Guard against Uncle Qing? What do you mean? Hua Yuana was stunned when she heard Qin Yu's words. She frowned and looked at Qin Yu with obvious distrust and suspicion. Just like what I said, let's go. When Qin Yu saw this, he did not say anything else. He waved his hand and walked out of the fire spirit tribe. Qin Yu was not surprised by Hua Yuana's reaction. After all, he was just a stranger who was coincidentally rescued. On the other hand, Hua Qing was a core member of the fire spirit tribe with countless battle achievements. Naturally, Hua Yuana did not believe Qin Yu when he suddenly told the fire spirit tribe to be on guard against Hua Qing. Even if Qin Yu were to tell them what he saw last night, it was likely that no one in the fire spirit clan would believe Qin Yu. It was even possible that he might end up getting into trouble because of this. That was the reason why Qin Yu merely reminded him and did not explain too much. Hua Yuana's frown deepened when she saw Qin Yu leave without hesitation. Since Qin Yu came from another region, he should not have any grudges with Hua Qing. If that was the case, why would Qin Yu suddenly tell her father to be on guard against Hua Qing? Did Qin Yu know something, or did Qin Yu have some ulterior motive? This made Hua Yuana, who was only curious about Qin Yu's background, feel a layer of haze that could not be dispelled. While Hua Yuana was pondering, Qin Yu had already left the valley where the fire spirit tribe was. In the mountain range filled with ancient trees, Qin Yu was as agile as an ape. He quickly leaped between the ancient trees and leaped into the depths of the fire spirit mountain range. Whoosh! Suddenly, Qin Yu, who had just landed on an ancient tree, was entangled by an ancient green vine. The ancient vine was as thick as an arm and covered with thin, sharp barbs. There were also mysterious demonic patterns on it. A special demonic aura quickly enveloped the area. Chapter 709. Sucking my blood qi? Qin Yu was able to sense that the barbs on the cyan-colored ancient vine had easily pierced into his skin and were unceasingly devouring his flesh and blood. With the speed of the ancient green vine's devouring, Qin Yu's blood would be sucked dry and he would become a mummy in less than half an incense stick's time. I didn't expect there to be a half-monster in the Fire Demon mountain range. A sinister laugh sounded. Qin Yu looked up and saw a light green figure emerging from the trunk of the ancient tree. Although the person was in human form, his body was covered in light green tree patterns and there was still some bark on his face. It seemed that he had not fully transformed. However, his cultivation had already reached the Emperor realm. Ancient tree monster. The person with the bark was one of the monster clans in the Fire Demon mountain range. His original form was an ancient tree spirit. He was one of the top forces in the Fire Demon mountain range. You actually contain such pure bloodline power. Looks like I'm really lucky today. Boy, which clan are you from? The ancient tree monster grinned, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth. He looked at Qin Yu ferociously, as if he was looking at an extremely delicious meal. To the ancient tree monster, the pure dragon clan blood in Qin Yu's body was indeed a great supplement. The main dragon vein in Qin Yu's body had reached grade 6 blue-grade dragon vein. To some extent, it was already comparable to the dragon clan. Boom! What answered him was a violent explosion of strength chi. The ancient vine that trapped Qin Yu was directly shattered into dust. Qin Yu's body was surrounded by phantoms of dragon chi, as if thousands of dragons were worshipping him. His aura was astonishing. How can this be? The ancient tree monster's expression changed drastically. A green light flashed on his body and he wanted to escape into the ancient tree. But a figure flashed and the ancient tree monster was directly grabbed by the neck and dragged out just as he touched the ancient tree. An extremely violent and destructive power instantly enveloped the ancient tree demon, causing him to feel cold all over and not dare to move at all. You are not at the martial emperor realm? The ancient tree demon was terrified and looked at Qin Yu in disbelief. The power that Qin Yu released just now was definitely not something a martial emperor could possess. Even an emperor realm master would find it difficult to possess such power. This made the ancient tree demon think of the worst possibility. Could it be? You want to devour my chi and blood? Unfortunately, you're still too weak. A cold smile appeared on Qin Yu's face. He could sense an extremely pure wood attribute energy fluctuation from the ancient tree demon's body. The wood attribute energy fluctuation was so pure that even Qin Yu, who had a vast dragon aura, was moved. It was probably something that could only be found by chance. You, what do you want? If you dare to kill me, the ancient tree demon tribe will never forgive you. Sensing the terrifying fluctuations coming from Qin Yu's body, the ancient tree demon's expression changed drastically as it threatened in a trembling voice. Bang! Qin Yu exerted force in his 5 fingers. Before the ancient tree demon could finish his words, he was crushed by Qin Yu and his soul was extracted. After the ancient tree demon died, its body quickly withered and finally turned into a withered sapling. On the sapling, there was a fist-sized, translucent, dark green spirit fruit. Qin Yu plucked that spirit fruit. From that spirit fruit, he sensed a vast amount of wood attribute energy. Refine. With a thought from Qin Yu, a mass of dragon aura appears in his palm. That dark green spirit fruit is immediately swallowed by the dragon aura. Boom! Immediately, all of Qin Yu's limbs and bones were filled with a strong and pure energy. Under the circulation of the ancient battle dragon art, the rich energy was instantly refined. Qin Yu's cultivation immediately soared by more than 10 times, returning from the martial emperor realm to the emperor realm. More importantly, several hidden injuries in Qin Yu's body were healed and his physique seemed to have strengthened a lot. Oh! They caught up so quickly. Qin Yu, who had just refined the energy of the spirit fruit, was slightly surprised. He could sense that there were many powerful auras in the mountain range, which were rapidly moving in his direction to surround him. Among those auras, the weakest was at the Emperor realm, while the rest were at the Heavenly Yuan realm. Qin Yu's cultivation had just recovered to the Emperor realm, so he naturally would not be entangled with the ancient tree demon clan. Yin-Yang escape. Qin Yu moved his right hand and an ancient yin-yang talisman appeared in his hand. With a flash of yin-yang light, Qin Yu disappeared without a trace. Not long after, several ancient tree demons with powerful auras appeared at the place where Qin Yu was previously. Did he manage to escape? Damn it! The ancient tree demon clan's powerhouses used their secret techniques one after another, but they could not sense anything. They were all furious. At this moment, Qin Yu, who was holding the ancient yin-yang talisman, had already left the ancient tree demon clan's territory. The ancient yin-yang talisman in his hand was an escape talisman that contained the power of yin and yang. The power of yin and yang could create chaos above and the 5 elements below. Therefore, The yin-yang escape talisman was even rarer than the legendary 5 elements divine technique. There was nowhere in the world that it could not go. Of course, every time the ancient yin-yang talisman was used, the power of yin and yang in it would be weakened greatly. Qin Yu felt that after he recovered his cultivation and found the dragon soul, he should start cultivating the ancient talisman Dao. The inheritance of immortal King Zhonlong was not only the inheritance of immortal qi cultivation, but also the inheritance of alchemy, crafting, talisman, array, and other aspects that immortal King Zhonlong had mastered. However, Qin Yu needed to carefully study those aspects before he could gradually master them. With the yin-yang escape talisman in his hand, Qin Yu passed through the territories of powerful monster clans and entered the hinterland of the ancient demon mountain range. The deeper he went, the stronger the dragon clan's aura became. However, because of this, Qin Yu could sense that there was no real dragon clan in the fire demon mountain range. This was because the dragon clan's aura did not change at all. It did not seem like a living creature at all, but more like an inanimate object. The strange thing was that the deeper he went into the fire demon mountain range, the fewer monster clans there were. It seemed that the monster clans of the fire demon mountain range did not dare to go too close. Is it because of the dragon clan's aura? Qin Yu pondered for a moment. He felt that this was the only possibility. Not encountering any monster clans made things easier for Qin Yu. Qin Yu arrived at the depths of the fire demon mountain range very smoothly and appeared in front of a cave surrounded by thick fog. The dragon clan's aura that Qin Yu sensed came from this cave. Other than that, Qin Yu was able to sense an extremely frightening barrier fluctuation from this mountain cave. Whoosh! Qin Yu held the yin-yang escape talisman in his hand and wanted to enter the cave from underground. However, the entire cave was surrounded by a layer of ancient and mysterious restriction in a circular barrier, and the underground was no exception. The circular barrier was filled with an extremely mysterious power. Qin Yu carefully sensed it. After confirming that the mysterious power did not exceed the power of yin and yang, he immediately entered. Rumble. Although Qin Yu did not encounter any danger when he entered, the entire fire demon mountain range shook violently the moment he entered. The shaking was so intense that it was like a volcano was about to erupt. Chapter 710. This is, the Fiend King Mystic Realm in the Flaming Demon Mountain Range has been activated. Someone snuck into the Fiend King Mystic Realm? How is that possible? Even a heavenly venerate can't resist the barrier of the Fiend King Mystic Realm. As the Flaming Demon Mountain Range shook violently, the thousands of demons in the Flaming Demon Mountain Range could feel it. Immediately, countless demon experts moved out and rushed towards the depths of the Flaming Demon Mountain Range. Fire Spirit Race. Fiend King Mystic Realm? In the valley of the Fire Spirit Race, Zhen He, who was cultivating with his eyes closed, immediately sensed it and rushed towards the depths of the Flaming Demon Mountain Range. How is that possible? Hua Xiao, the patriarch of the Fire Spirit Race, looked towards the depths of the Flaming Demon Mountain Range with disbelief in his eyes. Big brother, what's going on? Did you activate the barrier of the Fiend King Mystic Realm? It was Hua Quan. He had sensed the appearance of the Fiend King's secret realm, so he quickly rushed over and asked with a pleasantly surprised expression. It's not me. Someone else activated the Fiend King Mystic Realm. Hua Xiao shook his head with a serious expression. Someone can activate the Fiend King Mystic Realm without the Fire Demon token? Hua Quan was stunned, and the surprise on his face turned into disbelief. These words made Hua Xiao's expression even more serious. The Fiend King Mystic Realm was the last hope for the Fire Spirit Race to rise again. If it was taken by someone else, the Fire Spirit Race would never be able to rise again. The Demon Bear Race. The Fiend King Mystic Realm, is it the Fire Spirit Race? Xiong Li, who was tall and strong like a small mountain, had a gloomy expression in his long and narrow eyes. Xiong Li was the patriarch of the Demon Bear Race and one of the few Heavenly Wheel Realm experts in the Flaming Demon Mountain Range. Patriarch, it looks like the Fire Spirit Race has already comprehended the secret of the Fire Demon token. We can't wait any longer. Xiong Yuan, who had met Hua Qing late at night, had a murderous look in his eyes. If the Fire Spirit Race obtained the inheritance of the Fiend King Mystic Realm, then their many years of planning would be for naught. Xiong Li's eyes narrowed as he pondered. Although the fire spirit race's power was lower in the Demon Mountain range, they were the Fiend King Mystic Realm experts. However, in the Fire Demon Mountain range, other than the Demon Bear clan, no other demon clan knew that the Fire Spirit clan had once been the overlord of the fire domain at its peak. Although the fire spirit race had already fallen, Xiong Li was not confident that he could destroy the fire spirit race in one go if he acted rashly. Once the Fire Spirit clan escaped, the monstrous Bear clan would not be able to obtain the Fire Devil token that they wanted. Most importantly, once the news of the Fire Demon token spread, the entire Fire Demon Mountain range, and even the forces in the western part of the fire domain, would definitely take action. That was not what Xiong Li wanted to see. However, the monstrous King Mysterious Realm had been activated. If they were to continue to delay, the monstrous King Mysterious Realm's inheritance would be obtained by the Fire Spirit clan. At that time, it would be even more difficult to deal with the Fire Spirit race. However, at this moment, the vast demonic might that surged out from the depths of the Fire Demon Mountain range vanished without a trace. Not the slightest fluctuation remained, as if it had never appeared. This caused Xiong Li and Xiong Yuan to feel extremely astonished. Could it be that the Fire Spirit race had failed to activate the monstrous King Mysterious Realm's barrier? After all, if they had not failed, the fluctuation of the monstrous King Mysterious Realm would not have disappeared so easily. Whoosh! While Xiong Li and Xiong Yuan were astonished, a grey light flew into the sky from the distance and landed in front of them. It was a secret letter. After Xiong Li broke the restriction and opened the secret letter, he could not help but exclaim softly, "Patriarch, what's wrong?" Xiong Yuan could not help but ask. The Fire Spirit race sent a secret letter. It said that the person who activated the monstrous King Mysterious Realm was not from the Fire Spirit race. Xiong Li handed the secret letter to Xiong Yuan with a strange look in his eyes. Not from the Fire Spirit race? Does this mean that there are other monstrous beast clans that can activate the monstrous King Mysterious Realm? Xiong Yuan was also stunned after reading the secret letter, but he immediately reacted. It seems that we can't wait any longer. After pondering for a long time, a look of determination flashed in Xiong Li's eyes. Originally, he had thought that only the Fire Spirit race possessed the method to open the monstrous King Mysterious Realm. Thus, they would be able to take their time and plan. However, the activation of the monstrous King Mysterious Realm had caused Xiong Li to immediately change his mind. They were able to control the Fire Spirit race, but they did not even know which power had activated the monstrous King Mysterious Realm. Thus, the monstrous Bear clan could not wait any longer. Otherwise, they would have no chance of entering the monstrous King Mysterious Realm. At this moment, in the depths of the monstrous Fire Mountain range, in the mysterious cave. After passing through the spirit formation restriction, Qin Yu entered the depths of the cave. The cave was not very large. At a glance, it was only several hundred meters in size. The air of the cave was filled with dazzling and dense fire origin energy. The fire origin energy would occasionally turn into flames, causing the entire cave to appear red and translucent. In the center of the cave, there was a skeleton wearing blazing battle armor and holding a blazing spear. Its body was surrounded by surging flames, and it was majestically sitting there. From the monstrous might emitted by the blazing flame skeleton, it seemed to have been an exceptional greater monstrous beast when it was alive. Heavenly God Realm, according to Qin Yu's judgment, the monstrous might emitted by the blazing flame skeleton was so strong that it had reached the Heavenly God Realm at the very least. One must know that even in the martial field, heavenly gods were already considered overlords whose names could shake a region. Qin Yu did not expect that such a powerful existence would exist in such a remote place like the Fire Demon Mountain range. When Qin Yu approached the blazing flame skeleton, he discovered that on the right side of the skeleton, there was a stone tablet that was half the height of a person. Previously, it was blocked by the blazing flame skeleton's blazing battle armor, so Qin Yu did not see it. On the stone tablet, there were profound fire runes inscribed on it, and there was a row of ancient fire runes. With a glance, Qin Yu recognized that it was the Fire Spirit race's language. Sinful General Hue Jiang committed suicide in front of the Fire Emperor's tomb. Protector of the Fire Emperor's spirit. Qin Yu took out the ancient book. After searching and comparing it, he understood the meaning of the ancient fire runes. Surnamed Fire, and it appeared in the Fire Demon Mountain range. It seems that this blazing flame skeleton is an ancestor of the fire spirit race. Qin Yu did not expect that the fire spirit race, which had been reduced to the edge of the Fire Demon Mountain range and was struggling to survive, would actually have such a powerful ancestor. It seemed that the fire spirit race was also a rather glorious demon race in the past. Of course, Qin Yu was more interested in the Fire Emperor's tomb and Fire Emperor's spirit that were written on it. Whether it was in the 9th level of the martial Tao or the 9th level of the heavenly Tao, an existence that could be called an emperor was definitely an existence that had stepped onto the peak of a certain domain. If there was an ancient tomb of a 9th level heavenly Tao emperor in this place, it would be a great opportunity. Unfortunately, Qin Yu wandered around the cave and could not find the so-called Fire Emperor's ancient tomb. In the end, Qin Yu's gaze fell on the stone tablet beside the blazing flame skeleton. After pondering for a moment, Qin Yu walked over and gently touched the stone tablet. Chapter 7:11. Buzz buzz buzz. Immediately, Qin Yu felt as if his hand was being sucked in by the stone tablet. The Dragon Clan bloodline in his body seemed to be resonating with it and began to tremble violently. The mysterious fire runes on the stone tablet lit up one by one, and a vast and unparalleled power of fire emanated from the stone tablet. If it wasn't for the existence of the barrier in the cave, not only the Fire Demon Mountain range, but the entire western part of the fire domain would have been shaken. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In the next moment, Qin Yu only saw rolling flames before his eyes. When he came back to his senses, he discovered that the original cave had become a world of flames. There were monstrous flames that could destroy the heavens and the earth, rolling between heaven and earth. So far, the most powerful flame Qin Yu had seen was the Golden Flames Heaven Incinerating Dragon, Fen Yu's Golden Flames Heaven Incinerating Fire. However, the Golden Flames Heaven Incinerating Fire was completely insufficient in front of such a destructive flame. The power of the two was not on the same level. After thousands of years, someone has finally triggered the inheritance of the Fire Emperor. Just as Qin Yu was vigilantly sizing up the world of flames, a low and hoarse voice sounded without any warning. This fluctuation, Qin Yu's expression changed slightly. Following the sound, he turned his head to look. He saw a flaming figure stepping out from the surging flames. It was the flaming skeleton wearing the raging flame battle armor. However, at this moment, two wisps of light blue flames appeared on the head of the flaming skeleton wearing a helmet. They were like two eyeballs, looking indifferently at Qin Yu. "You're an ancestor of the fire spirit race?" Qin Yu sized up the flaming skeleton. Although the flaming skeleton gave him an extremely dangerous feeling, Qin Yu, who had the War Dragon Immortal King and many immortal treasures, did not panic much. Even if he was unable to win, if he wanted to escape, he would still be able to escape from the spirit formation world. Of course, unless he had no choice, Qin Yu would not let go of the inheritance of an Emperor Realm expert. Although he had the inheritance of the Battle Dragon Immortal King, Qin Yu didn't mind having more inheritances. After all, his cultivation base wasn't strong enough yet. Fire Spirit Race, 489th Patriarch, Huojiang. The blazing skeleton said in a clanging voice, 498th generation? Qin Yu raised his eyebrows. Judging from Huojiang's words, he was a character from 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago, the Fire Spirit Clan had 498 generations. The history of the Fire Spirit Clan was at least 100,000 years old, or even longer. Since you came from the outside world, do you know what the current situation of the Fire Spirit Clan is like? Huojiang, who was surrounded by raging flames, asked. Now, the Fire Spirit race has settled down at the border of the Fire Demon Mountain range. They have declined to the point where they don't even have a Heavenly Wheel Realm cultivator. They even need to marry to survive. Qin Yu didn't try to hide anything. He told her everything he knew about the Fire Spirit race. Back then, if I hadn't been careless and caused the Fire Emperor to be plotted against, I wouldn't have fallen to such a state, and my clan wouldn't have suffered because of it. Huojiang sighed. He was obviously blaming himself in his heart. As far as I know, the Fire Spirit race is facing a calamity now. It's very likely that it will be difficult to deal with. It's even very likely that the entire race will be exterminated. Qin Yu looked at Huojiang and said slowly, "Junior, what are you trying to say?" Huojiang could tell that Qin Yu was implying something, so he asked directly, "Tell me where the Fire Emperor's inheritance is, and I'll help the Fire Spirit race get through this crisis. How about it?" Qin Yu didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. He could already tell that the Fire Emperor's inheritance wasn't in this secret realm of fire. Since you've triggered the inheritance, you're naturally qualified to know where the Fire Emperor's inheritance is. However, the Fire Emperor is the most powerful Great Emperor in the history of the Great Spirit world. The Fire Emperor's inheritance isn't that easy to obtain. If you don't have a great opportunity and great luck, you'll only end up dead. Huojiang wasn't surprised when he heard that. He only warned Lin Fan. "You don't have to worry about that. As long as you tell me where the Fire Emperor's inheritance is, I'll help the Fire Spirit race get through this crisis." Qin Yu smiled faintly. He was able to obtain the Battle Dragon Immortal King's inheritance despite the interference of the foreign powerhouses. Wasn't that a great opportunity and great luck? "It seems that you're very confident." The two wisps of light blue flames in Huojiang's eyes flickered slightly, and a fiery light floated out from between his eyebrows. Qin Yu focused his gaze and realized that the fiery light was a fiery map. On the fiery map, there was an extremely eye-catching fiery divine tower. The Fire Emperor's ancient tomb is in this divine tower. As for the specific location, you'll have to find it yourself. However, you must remember that once you leave this place, you must find the divine tower within 49 days. Otherwise, this map will automatically disappear. Huojiang flicked his finger and gave the fiery map to Qin Yu. If he couldn't find the Fire Emperor's ancient tomb with the map in hand, he wouldn't be qualified to inherit the Fire Emperor's inheritance. "Thank you, Senior." Qin Yu took the fiery map and sealed it. "This fire pearl contains my lifetime's worth of inheritance and ultimate techniques. I hope that you'll be able to find an inheritor of the Fire Spirit race for me after you leave. Remember, if it's not an inheritor of the Fire Spirit race, then the restrictions within the pearl will be triggered." Huojiang took out a fist-sized pearl with ancient flames on it. "All right." Qin Yu nodded. Huojiang's last sentence was obviously a warning to him. However, Qin Yu really wasn't that interested in Huojiang's inheritance. Of course, this was also because he had obtained the clue of the Fire Emperor's inheritance. Otherwise, it might be the inheritance of a heavenly god. This was still quite tempting. The divine fire of this secret realm is the Fire Emperor's vast sky divine flame. It contains a trace of the Fire Emperor's comprehension when he was alive. Looking at your body, there seems to be the fluctuation of a fire path divine ability. If you can comprehend it, it will be quite beneficial for you. As the fiery pearl was taken out, the burning flames on Huojiang's skeleton gradually dissipated. From the looks of it, the spirit in the skeleton could dissipate at any time. Vast sky divine flame? Qin Yu thought for a moment. There was no information about the vast sky divine flame in Zhonlong Immortal King's memory. This was normal. After all, Zhonlong Immortal King was a true immortal. What he had seen and heard was naturally more related to the immortal realm. However, Qin Yu naturally had no reason to let go of the divine flame of an Emperor realm powerhouse. Immediately, Qin Yu sat down cross-legged and formed a seal with both hands. In his palm, the ancient seal of the divine dragon glowed faintly. Whoosh! Whoosh! The rolling flames in the secret realm immediately rushed into Qin Yu's body and were crazily refined and devoured. Qin Yu's cultivation also soared by leaps and bounds because of this. The energy contained in the divine flame was no weaker than the dragon chi of the ancient seal of the divine dragon and the spirit fruit in the ancient tree demon's body. In a short while, Qin Yu went from the initial Emperor realm to the peak Emperor realm, and then broke through to the ancient Emperor realm. Chapter 7:12. Time passed quietly. 3 days later, the raging flames that had covered the entire secret realm were completely absorbed. Qin Yu's cultivation had also reached the complete heavenly yuan stage in these 3 days. That's right. Qin Yu had not only recovered his cultivation, But he had also reached the complete Heavenly Yuan stage. With the mighty Heavenly Yuan battle dragon in Qin Yu's body, he could step into the Heavenly Wheel stage at any time. The Heavenly Yuan stage was to transform the martial way True Yuan into the Heavenly Yuan stage. The Heavenly Wheel stage was to comprehend the two extremes of yin and yang. In other words, it was the power of yin and yang. However, it was different from the ordinary power of yin and yang. It was the unique power of yin and yang in the martial region. When the power of yin and yang met, it would become the yin-yang heavenly wheel. When the yin-yang heavenly wheel reached its limit, he could break through to the calamity stage. After making a great breakthrough in his cultivation, Qin Yu did not leave immediately. The reason he came to this secret realm was because he sensed the aura of the Dragon Clan. Although he had obtained the inheritance of the Fire Emperor, Qin Yu did not let go of the Dragon Clan's aura. He wanted to investigate it. An ancient sword. Soon, Qin Yu found the source of the Dragon Clan's aura in the cave where the flames had disappeared. It was a flaming long sword with flame dragon runes engraved on it. The Dragon Clan's aura that Qin Yu sensed came from the flame dragon runes. Is this a divine treasure refined with the Dragon Clan's blood essence? Qin Yu looked at the long sword for a while and held it. Roar. Immediately, Qin Yu faintly felt a dragon's roar coming from the long sword. An extremely hot Dragon Clan's aura surged toward Qin Yu, as if it wanted to devour Qin Yu's soul. However, when it sensed the powerful main dragon bloodline's aura in Qin Yu's body, the hot Dragon Clan's aura immediately wanted to retreat into the ancient sword. Want to leave? Qin Yu's eyes flickered coldly. With a thought, several illusionary figures of Shenron appeared and sealed off the scorching dragon aura. From that blazing Dragon Clan's aura, Qin Yu sensed a trace of soul energy fluctuation. It was obvious that the flaming dragon sword was not only refined with the Dragon Clan's blood essence, but it had also fused with a trace of the dragon soul. However, that strand of dragon soul no longer had any intelligence. It only had a bloodthirsty instinct. Therefore, the dragon soul was naturally of no use to the current Qin Yu. However, Qin Yu was able to use a secret sensing technique to sense the location of the dragon soul's main body. As long as he had not left the fire domain, Qin Yu would be able to find him. After obtaining clues about the dragon tribe, Qin Yu kept the flaming longsword with dragon patterns. This time, Qin Yu's harvest was huge. Not only did he obtain the aura of the dragon race, but he also obtained the location of an Emperor Realm expert's tomb. Qin Yu walked around the secret realm. After finding nothing, he prepared to leave. But at this time, Qin Yu's expression changed slightly. He discovered that an extremely faint flame mark had appeared in his dantian. If it wasn't for Qin Yu's amazing perception, he probably wouldn't have been able to discover the flame mark. Qin Yu was about to ask Hu Jiang when he raised his head and found that the flames on the skeleton had completely disappeared. Hu Jiang's soul power had also dissipated. Could it be related to the Fire Emperor's inheritance? Qin Yu sensed in a deep voice. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind. If it wasn't related to the Fire Emperor's inheritance, then the appearance of this flame mark was somewhat thought-provoking. After all, it was Hu Jiang who took the initiative to let him absorb the flames in this secret realm. After sensing for a long time without discovering anything, Qin Yu's gaze once again landed on that skeleton in the river of fire. Although there was no longer Hu Jiang's soul power, the skeleton, whether it was the armor, the battle spear, or the skeleton itself, were all rare divine treasures. In the 10 Directions world, the grades of weapons were divided into spirit treasures, saint treasures, divine treasures, and immortal treasures. Each grade was further divided into 9 grades. Spirit treasures were the most common. Even the Fire Spirit clan, which was in dire straits, had spirit treasures. Saint treasures, especially high-grade saint treasures, were rare. In the entire Flame Mountain range, only the top monster race tribes had them. Of course, saint treasures could often be seen in the super forces outside the Fire Demon Mountain range. However, divine treasures were truly rare. Even in the entire western part of the fire domain, only the superpowers had them. Even in the entire fire domain, there weren't many top divine treasures. As for immortal treasures, in the entire 10 Directions world, the forces that had them were rare and stood at the top of the 10 Directions world. Therefore, for Qin Yu, the skeleton and several other divine treasures, he naturally wanted to get his hands on them. As for the chaotic dragon spear that Qin Yu had refined, it was considered a half-immortal in the heaven domain. According to Qin Yu's judgment, it was only a saint treasure. Of course, the chaotic dragon spear had endless potential. It was not impossible for it to become a real immortal treasure in the future. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Immediately, Qin Yu sat cross-legged and summoned the remaining vast heaven divine flame sealed in his body. He began to refine the skeleton, outside the fire demon mountain range, after the Monster King's secret realm was triggered. In the depths of the fire demon mountain range, countless monster race experts gathered every day, wanting to see what was going on. Unfortunately, facing the Monster King's secret realm in the cave, those monster race experts could only wander outside. No one dared to touch the secret realm. Those who wanted to break through the cave's secret realm by chance were basically turned into ashes. Not even their bones were left. 2 days later, in the Fire Spirit Clan. Early in the morning, the entire Fire Spirit Clan was busy. Today was the day of the marriage between Hua Yuana and the young master of the Monster Bear Clan. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the Fire Spirit Clan invited many powerful monster race experts. Today, not only did they have to announce the marriage between the Fire Spirit Clan and the Monster Bear Clan, but they also had to take the opportunity to tell the other monster races in the Fire Demon Mountain Range that Hua Yuana had been accepted as a disciple by True Crane. With the Monster Bear Clan and True Crane as their backing, the other monster race tribes in the Fire Demon Mountain Range would not dare to bully the Fire Spirit Clan. Whoosh whoosh. When the scorching sun rose into the sky, accompanied by a strong monster wind, a large group of monster cultivators with strong physiques and extraordinary auras came to the Fire Spirit Clan happily. The leader of the group was the Monster Bear Clan's patriarch, Xiong Li. On his left was his confidant, Xiong Yuan. On his right was his eldest son, Xiong Ba. Senior Xiong Li, excuse me for not going out to meet you. Please come in. Hua Xiao led the Fire Spirit Clan's higher-ups to personally welcome Xiong Li and the others. Brother Hua Xiao, our clans have become in-laws today. If you call me senior, won't you be messing up the seniority? After glancing at Hua Qing, who was behind Hua Xiao, Xiong Li laughed and patted Hua Xiao's shoulder. Brother Xiong Li is right. I didn't think it through. Hua Xiao apologized again and again, but the smile on his face was extremely bright. Under Hua Xiao's lead, Xiong Li and the others entered the Fire Spirit Clan's main hall. Seeing Xiong Li arrive, the powerful monster race experts all stood up and bowed. The Monster Bear Clan's strength was not something the Fire Spirit Clan could compare to. Moreover, Xiong Li himself was a mid-heavenly wheel expert. His strength was terrifying. Chapter 713. Thank you, everyone, for coming to my son and Yuan Er's wedding. Please take a seat. Brother True Crane, it's been a long time. Xiong Li greeted the beast cultivators in the hall as if they were his own family. Finally, he greeted True Crane. It's been a few years since we last met. Your cultivation has become even more profound. You must be close to the late stage of the heavenly wheel realm. True Crane cupped his fists and smiled. I'm still far from it. Even Brother True Crane, I heard that you're confident of reaching the peak of the heavenly wheel realm. Xiong Li waved his hands. Hua Xiao and the other members of the Fire Spirit race were delighted to see Xiong Li and True Crane chatting happily. Patriarch. Xiong Yuan, who had disappeared for a long time, reappeared in the hall and gave Xiong Li a look. Brother Fire Firmament, it's about time for the banquet. Go check on Yuan and see if she's ready. After we return from the wedding, we'll have to invite the various clans and even offer sacrifices to our ancestors. We can't miss this auspicious time. Xiong Li walked to Hua Xiao's side when he saw that Xiong Yuan had returned. Look at me. I was so happy that I almost forgot about the important matter. Men, invite the eldest miss out. Hua Xiao immediately summoned a member of the Fire Spirit race to inform Hua Yuana. Before long, Hua Yuana, who was wearing a red dress and gorgeous makeup, was escorted by the Fire Spirit race. Everyone's gazes immediately landed on Hua Yuana as soon as he entered the hall. Although Hua Yuana was still young, she was already an extremely beautiful woman. Xiong Bie's eyes flashed with passion when he saw the beautiful Hua Yuana. After kowtowing to his parents, Hua Xiao announced the start of the wedding banquet. All sorts of delicacies and fine wine were served. The entire fire spirit race was filled with joyous cheers. True Crane, who was being toasted by Xiong Li and the others, suddenly looked outside the fire spirit race's valley. Senior True Crane, what's wrong? Hua Xiao, whose face was flushed from drinking, noticed True Crane's expression and couldn't help but ask. There are ripples of formation runes around our land. True Crane put down his wine cup, his gaze turning serious. In his senses, the entire valley where the fire spirit clan was located had ripples of formation runes appearing. It was obvious that someone had set up a formation. The fluctuation of formation patterns? Hua Xiao suddenly came to his senses and immediately sent a few high-level elders of the fire spirit race to investigate. However, after a while, Hua Xiao's expression turned extremely serious. The few high-level elders who went to investigate never returned. It was as if they had disappeared without a trace. More importantly, not only the Heavenly Wheel stage True Crane, but also the Heavenly Origin stage Hua Xiao and the others could feel the energy waves coming from the valley. What happened? Could it be that I'm drunk? Why do I feel like the entire fire spirit race is covered by a spirit formation? Someone has surrounded the fire spirit race. A moment later, more and more demon race people reacted. The originally joyous banquet was filled with surprised exclamations. Did something happen? After kowtowing to the WN family, Hua Yuana sat there quietly, waiting to be married. When she heard the cries of the Heaven Origin stage monsters, her expression changed. She immediately looked at Hua Qing, who was standing beside her father. However, compared to the other members of the Fire Spirit clan who were at a loss, Hua Qing's expression was calm, and there was no fluctuation in her eyes. It was as if she was not surprised by all of this. This made Hua Yuana's heart sink. That Hua Qing, you'd better tell your father and master to be on guard. At this moment, Hua Yuana couldn't help but recall what Qin Yu had warned her before he left. She was extremely regretful. She had originally thought that Qin Yu had ill intentions and wanted to provoke the higher-ups of the fire spirit race. However, it seemed that Qin Yu really did know something, and that was why he had suggested to warn her. Xiong Li, it's you? True Crane's gaze swept across the panicked fire spirit race and other demon race cultivators in the hall. He suddenly looked at Xiong Li and the others. When he saw that Xiong Li was still smiling and drinking wine casually, True Crane's expression turned serious. If it was only Xiong Li, with True Crane's cultivation, he naturally wouldn't be afraid. However, there was an old demon bear behind Xiong Li, who was trying to break through to the calamity stage. Brother Xiong Li, was this spirit formation really set up by the demon bear race? When Hua Xiao and the other higher-ups of the fire spirit race heard True Crane's words, they all looked at Xiong Li with disbelief. The other demon race cultivators in the hall looked at Xiong Li and Hua Qing with astonishment and strange expressions. Weren't the two races supposed to form an alliance through marriage today? What was the demon bear race trying to do? Since you've discovered it, then there's no need for us to be so secretive. That's right, those restrictions were set up by us. At this moment, the demon bear race didn't hide anymore. The smile on his face became somewhat sinister as he sneered at Hua Xiao and the other fire spirit race cultivators. Why? Hua Xiao was furious, but he forcibly suppressed his anger and questioned in a deep voice. The fire spirit race and the demon bear race had no enmity between them. Hua Xiao couldn't understand why the demon bear race would attack them. Moreover, they had chosen the day of the alliance marriage and the gathering of their clansmen. Such an action was clearly intended to wipe out the fire spirit race in one fell swoop. Now that he thought about it, the demon bear race had probably started to plot against them when they came to propose the marriage 2 years ago. Why? Don't worry, I'll give you an explanation later. I won't let you die with regrets. After Xiong Li sneered, he looked at the other demon beast cultivators in the hall with a ferocious and ruthless gaze. I'll give you 3 breaths of time. If you're not from the fire spirit race, leave immediately. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences. Hearing Xiong Li's murderous words, regardless of whether they were on good terms with the fire spirit race or had been invited, They all immediately left the territory of the fire spirit race. After leaving the valley of the fire spirit race and seeing the black mass of demon bear race experts, the demon beast cultivators felt their hearts palpitate. It seemed that the fire spirit race wouldn't be able to escape today. Hua Xiao's expression became extremely ugly when he saw that only the fire spirit race's people were left in the originally lively wedding hall. If they could gather all the demon beast cultivators just now, they might be able to fight against the demon bear race. Unfortunately, the demon beast cultivators who had come to participate in the wedding wouldn't risk their lives for the fire spirit race. Now, the only people they could rely on were the fire spirit race themselves. Thinking of this, Hua Qing's gaze swept across all the fire spirit race's people and had them gather together. Father, be careful of Hua Qing. They're together. But right at this moment, a hurried voice sounded. Hua Qing, who was originally approaching Hua Xiao, stiffened and stopped in her tracks. Chapter 7:14. Hua Qing originally wanted to stay by Hua Xiao's side and betray them at the critical moment, but she didn't expect Hua Yuana to see through her. She couldn't help but look at Hua Yuana. She didn't know when she had given herself away and allowed Hua Yuana to catch her. Hua Qing betrayed us. Hua Xiao, Hua Quan, and the other higher-ups of the Fire Spirit clan all looked at Hua Qing. Hua Xiao and the others didn't believe it at first, but when they saw Hua Xiao's expression, their hearts sank. Some things were hard to discover before they were exposed, but once they were exposed, they would immediately discover the problem, just like Hua Qing. Zhenhe also looked at Hua Qing, his heart sinking. No wonder the Demon Bear clan could surround the Fire Spirit clan without anyone noticing. It turned out that there was a traitor among the Fire Spirit clan. It seemed that the Demon Bear clan was fully prepared to overturn the Fire Spirit clan. Zhenhe, this is a grudge between our monstrous bear clan and the Fire Spirit clan. If you do not interfere, our monstrous bear clan will definitely possess a precious treasure. However, if you insist on becoming enemies with our monstrous bear clan, the consequences will be very serious. Xiong Li glanced at Hua Xiao and the others, who were trembling with anger, and ignored them. He looked coldly at Zhenhe. Although he knew that Zhenhe had taken Hua Yuana as his disciple, Xiong Li was surprised that Zhenhe didn't choose to leave under such circumstances. Of course, even if Zhenhe didn't leave, Xiong Li wouldn't be afraid. Although his cultivation was one level lower than Zhenhe's, the Demon Bear clan had sent out all their elites. There were more than 50 Sky Origin Realm cultivators, and they had even set up a killing array. Even if Zhenhe had reached the late stage of the Heavenly Wheel Realm, he wouldn't be able to resist. Hua Xiao, Hua Yuana, and the rest of the Fire Spirit clan looked at Zhenhe nervously. The true crane was the only guarantee they could resist. If Zhenhe also left because of the Demon Bear clan, the Fire Spirit clan would become fish on the chopping board. They could only be slaughtered by the Demon Bear clan. Xiong Li, although I don't know what kind of grudge there is between the Demon Bear clan and the Fire Spirit clan for you to be so ruthless, Hua Yuana is my disciple. I can't just stand by and watch. Looking at the weak Fire Spirit race, True Crane spoke in a deep voice. Hua Yuana was his only chance to enter the Beast King Island. If he missed out on Hua Yuana, he didn't know how long it would take for him to accept another disciple with such aptitude. After all, although he was somewhat famous in the Fire Demon Mountain Range, his reputation would not be prominent outside of the Fire Demon Mountain Range. Those with outstanding aptitudes would not choose to become his disciple. Instead, they would join those large forces and make it easier for them to join the Beast King Island. Good, very good. Zhenhe, you're the one who asked for it, so don't blame us. Hearing this, Xiong Li's face turned completely gloomy. The killing intent in his eyes soared, and his demonic aura soared to the sky. Xiong Yuan and the other Sky Origin stage cultivators also scattered around the hall, surrounding the hall tightly. When Hua Xiao and the other members of the Fire Spirit clan saw the fighting force of the Monster Bear clan, despair appeared on their faces. With so many Heavenly Yuan stage experts, no matter how the Fire Spirit tribe struggled, it would be useless. Even the True Crane's expression turned grave after he scanned the Monster Bear clan's battle prowess. But since he had made his choice, he naturally would not change his mind. The True Crane did not move, but white feathers appeared all over the True Crane's body. Behind him, A pure white immortal crane faintly appeared. Senior True Crane, it looks like my fire spirit race is fated to be unable to escape this calamity today. I only have one wish. I hope that you can bring Yuan out of this encirclement and preserve a trace of our bloodline. Seeing that True Crane was about to fight Xiong Li, Huaxiao hurriedly sent a message through a secret technique. Since the fire spirit tribe was destined to be destroyed, they had to survive. Hua Yuana, who had the best aptitude, might be able to rise again in the future. Chirp. True Crane nodded slightly at Huaxiao's words. In the next moment, the pure white phoenix behind True Crane let out a long cry. It turned into a ray of white light and swept Hua Yuana up into the sky. It was so fast that Hua Yuana was swept away before anyone in the hall could react. But strangely, True Crane remained in the hall, facing Xiong Li. He did not move at all. Divine Crane Art. As expected, you are the descendant of true monarch crane. Xiong Li was not surprised by the appearance of the red-crowned crane. The monstrous bear tribe had already investigated the origin of the red-crowned crane. Although legend said that True Crane was a wild crane, in reality, True Crane was the descendant of true monarch crane, whose name had shaken the fire domain thousands of years ago. Unfortunately, the crane tribe, which had once ruled the fire domain, had completely declined with the fall of true monarch crane, just like the fire spirit tribe. Now, only the crane tribe's bloodline remained. Tempage. Do you think you can escape with a burden? Of course, although Xiong Li was not surprised, he did react. He sneered and formed a seal with his hands. An extremely terrifying demonic aura surged out of the fire spirit tribe's valley. Accompanying the terrifying demonic aura was the illusory image of a 100-foot-tall monster bear. After the illusory image appeared, it waved its mountainous fists and smashed them into the air. The terrifying demonic aura affected the entire valley. Its power made one's heart tremble. Rumble. A deafening explosion that sounded like a clap of thunder rang out. The crane, which was so fast that it had turned into a ray of white light, was sent flying hundreds of feet away. It crashed heavily into the fire spirit tribe's territory. A deep pit appeared on the ground, and huge cracks appeared. Many buildings collapsed in an instant. In the deep pit, the crane, which was faintly surrounded by divine qi, was clearly much weaker. Hua Yuana's face was pale. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. His aura was extremely weak. With her martial progenitor cultivation, even if she was only slightly affected by the illusory image's attack, it was enough to severely injure her. She was lucky that she did not lose her life. The great barbaric bear. True Crane's face was pale. He seemed to be affected by the attack. He quickly raised his head and looked at the illusory image of the great barbaric bear. His pupils shrank to the size of needles in disbelief. The great barbaric bear was the ancestor of the monster bear tribe. It was an existence that surpassed the calamity stage. Although it only had one monster spirit, its combat strength was comparable to a perfect heavenly wheel realm expert. Otherwise, it would not have been able to break through his true crane divine technique in one move. Yuana. The expressions of Huaxiao and the other fire spirit tribe members changed drastically. They could not wait to rush out of the main hall. Unfortunately, the 50 heavenly origin realm experts of the monster bear tribe from Xiong Yuan locked onto Huaxiao and the others. As long as Huaxiao and the others showed the slightest weakness, they would immediately attack. In fact, if True Crane had not stopped them, they would have already attacked. Why would they be in a deadlock here? Chapter 715. Zhenhe, do you now understand why we're confident that we can destroy the fire spirit race even though we know you're here? Seeing True Crane's pale complexion, Xiong Li's eyes blazed with killing intent. Even though Zhenhe's cultivation was a level higher than his, he was confident that he could suppress Zhenhe with the help of the great barbarian bear. Today, not only did he have to obtain the fire spirit race's fire spirit token, but he also had to capture Zhenhe and interrogate him about the inheritance of true Lord Red-Crowned Crane. Kill. Xiong Li stomped on the ground before Zhenhe, Huaxiao, and the others could say anything. The ground cracked as he charged out murderously. Strange demonic runes covered Xiong Li's body, making his demonic aura even stronger. Red-Crowned Crane killing art. True Crane's eyes were cold and indifferent. His figure flashed and floated around Xiong Li like a wisp of smoke. Both of his hands continued to point in the air. Streaks of finger force, which were only an inch long, continuously broke through the air like lightning. Streaks of sharp air-rending sounds appeared in the void. The Spirit Crane clan had always been gifted with astonishing speed. True Crane, on the other hand, used his extreme speed talent to the extreme. In the hall, the people of the Demonic Bear tribe and the Fire Spirit tribe could only see shadows flashing in the air. They couldn't see the real Crane at all. Demonic origin divine shield. Sensing the finger of destruction sweeping towards him from all directions, Xiong Li, who had rushed out, abruptly let out a loud shout. The violent demon essence exploded, turning into a dark yellow demon essence divine shield, firmly protecting his body, blocking the finger force that was constantly attacking him. At the same time, with Xiong Li as the center, formation runes filled the air within a radius of 300 feet, forming an extremely terrifying boundary. Zhen He, who was so fast that no one could see him clearly, was immediately restricted. Demonic spirit possession. Xiong Li roared as brown fur grew on his body. He transformed into his demonic bear form and his demonic aura soared into the sky. In the valley of the fire spirit race, the great barbarian bear turned into a ray of light and attached itself to Xiong Li's body. Although the great barbarian bear was only 30 meters in size after it was possessed, its might didn't decrease in the slightest. In fact, because it overlapped with Xiong Li, its power became even more terrifying. It was even more terrifying than the great circle of heavenly wheel realm. Roar. With a furious roar, Xiong Li, who was possessed by a demon spirit, unleashed a berserk-killing move. The true Crane, whose speed was restricted by the seal, was immediately suppressed and unable to use its advantage. Of course, as the descendant of true Lord Immortal Crane, True Crane had mastered many secret techniques as well. Although it was being suppressed, it did not show any signs of being defeated. The battle was intense. Kill. Don't leave a single fire spirit alive. Seeing that True Crane was suppressed by Xiong Li, Xiong Yuan and the other Sky Origin realm elites of the Demonic Bear tribe immediately started to slaughter Hu Xiao and the others. With the absolute combat strength of the Demon Bear clan, dealing with the Fire Spirit clan was a one-sided massacre. If you want to exterminate my Fire Spirit race, then all of you can die together with me. Hu Xiao's eyes were bloodshot as he watched the Fire Spirits die one by one. His expression was ferocious and filled with despair. He formed an ancient seal and spat out a mouthful of blood onto it. Immediately, with the valley where the Fire Spirit clan was located as the center, boundless origin fire energy madly gathered towards him. One could clearly see that Hu Xiao's body was rapidly expanding as the origin fire energy poured into him. In the end, he became 4 to 5 feet tall and his entire body was burning with raging flames. It was as if his blood was burning. What's going on? How did his cultivation suddenly increase by so much? With such power, he has already reached the heavenly wheel realm. Xiong Yuan and the other Sky Origin realm elites of the Demonic Bear tribe were extremely shocked when they saw Hu Xiao's strength skyrocket. Patriarch. The Fire Spirit clan's members almost jumped out of their eyes when they saw Hu Xiao, who had become enormous and was burning with bloody flames. Not good, this is the sky burning technique. A cry of alarm sounded. It was the traitor Hu Qing who recognized the forbidden technique that Hu Xiao was using. This secret technique was a secret technique that required one to burn their blood essence and forcefully absorb the origin fire energy into their body. Although the effect was great, the after effects were also extremely terrifying. After using it, one's roots would be injured and their cultivation would decrease greatly. In the worst case, one's origin fire energy would be burned and they would die. Looking at Hu Xiao's current appearance, he was clearly putting his life on the line. Form the formation. Xiong Yuan coldly snorted. Since it was a secret technique, there must be a time limit. If he wanted to drag it out, he would drag it out until Hu Xiao died. No matter what, none of the Fire Spirit clan's members should think about leaving alive today. With Xiong Yuan as the center, a total of 40 Sky Origin realm elites formed a killing formation and surrounded Hu Xiao. The other dozen Sky Origin realm elites continued to slaughter the Fire Spirit clan's members. Not long after, only a few hundred members of the Fire Spirit clan, which did not have many members to begin with, were still resisting. Moreover, these few hundred people continued to lose their lives. Hua Quan and the other Sky Origin Realm elites couldn't even protect themselves, let alone the others. Cough cough. In the deep pit, Hua Yuana crawled out with serious injuries. Seeing the Fire Spirit Clan's members being wantonly slaughtered, he couldn't help coughing up blood and his face became even paler. Sister Yuana, this scene is too bloody. It's better if you don't watch. At this moment, a frivolous voice sounded. It was Xiong Ba, Xiong Li's son, who appeared and looked at Hua Yuana with a perverted gaze. Although they couldn't let any of the Fire Spirit Clan's members escape, they didn't have to kill all of them. They still had to leave behind a fire seed. That fire seed was naturally the most talented member of the Fire Spirit Clan, Hua Yuana. Why? Seeing Xiong Ba walking over, Hua Yuana's face was filled with hatred. She wanted nothing more than to tear Xiong Ba to shreds. Although she was extremely dissatisfied with the marriage with Xiong Ba, she still chose the marriage for the Fire Spirit Clan. She didn't expect the monstrous Bear Clan to take advantage of the marriage to slaughter the Fire Spirit Clan. Why? It's very simple. Since your Fire Spirit Clan has declined to the point where you don't have the strength to protect the treasure key, you should hand it over as soon as possible. Since you don't know what's good for you, you can only end up like this. Xiong Ba grinned. Although the Fire Demon token was left behind by the Fire Spirit Clan's ancestor, since the Fire Spirit Clan hadn't obtained the demonic King Mystic Realm's inheritance after so many years, there would naturally be people targeting the Fire Spirit Clan. Even if the monstrous Bear Clan didn't make a move, there would definitely be other forces that would target the Fire Spirit Clan in the future. You're here for the Fire Demon token? Hua Yuana came to his senses instantly and understood everything. Haha, you've finally figured it out. Unfortunately, it's too late. Xiong Ba's smile widened. After today, they would be able to obtain the demonic King Mystic Realm's inheritance. The entire Fire Demon mountain range would also submit to the monstrous Bear Clan. Rumble. At this moment, a deafening explosion sounded. It was Hua Xiao, who had used a forbidden technique to transform into a 50-foot-tall bloodflame giant. Under the siege of dozens of heavenly origin stage cultivators, he was beaten back to his original form and heavily smashed into the wall of the hall. His body was covered in blood, and it was unknown whether he was still alive or not. The monstrous Bear Clan and others had also paid a heavy price, with several heavenly origin stage cultivators losing their lives. Chapter 716. Patriarch. The expressions of Hua Quan and the other members of the Fire Spirit race changed drastically when they saw this. They were filled with fear and despair. Even Hua Xiao, who had used the Burning Sky art, couldn't fight his way out. The Fire Spirit race was doomed. Father. When Hua Yuana saw Hua Xiao, whose fate was unknown, his already pale face turned even paler. He wanted to help him. Unfortunately, she was severely injured and couldn't even protect herself. She could only watch helplessly. It's over. Xiong Ba's smile widened. Although the monster bear tribe had sacrificed several Sky Origin Realm clansmen for this, it was heartbreaking. However, Hua Xiao's defeat also meant that the destruction of the Fire Spirit race was no longer hindered. Hua Xiao was the only member of the Fire Spirit race who could use the Burning Sky art. Now that Hua Xiao was dead, the Fire Demon token would fall into their hands. The Demon Bear tribe would be able to unify the Fire Demon mountain range. They might even become a giant in the boundless fire domain in the future. Hua Yuana was in complete despair. She closed her eyes and prepared to use a secret technique to commit suicide. She didn't want to fall into Xiong Ba's hands and be tortured. Hua Yuana regretted not believing Qin Yu's words and guarding against Hua Qing. If the Fire Spirit race had been prepared in advance, then even if the monstrous Bear Clan had attacked en masse, the Fire Spirit race would not have fallen to such a state of being exterminated. Right, the teleportation talisman. Hua Yuana shivered in her regret. She remembered that Qin Yu had given her a teleportation talisman before he left. She didn't think that the teleportation talisman would be of any use, so she didn't pay much attention to it. But now, catcher. Hua Yuana immediately refined the last of her true yuan and took out the teleportation talisman Qin Yu had given her from her spatial ring. She crushed it and a unique spatial fluctuation spread out. Xiong Ba sensed it and his expression changed. Wang, Wang, Wang. Before he could react, mysterious runes appeared around Huayuana and formed an ancient teleportation array. Whoosh! There was a flash of light, and a figure emerged from the ancient formation beside Huayuana. That's a teleportation array? How is that possible? The entire territory of the fire spirit race has been sealed, so it's impossible for them to teleport. Who is that? This sudden change not only surprised Xiong Yuan and the other members of the demon bear tribe, who were slaughtering the members of the fire spirit tribe, but even Zhan He and Xiong Li, who were crazily fighting, involuntarily looked over. Just as the fire spirit race was about to be exterminated, such an unforeseen event had actually occurred. This caused them to be extremely curious as to who would intervene at this time. As expected, it has become like this. As Qin Yu looked at the fire spirit clan that was in a complete mess, Qin Yu knew that Huayuana did not believe him. He's really here. Huayuana had originally held onto a sliver of hope. But when he saw Qin Yu appear, a dazzling light immediately blossomed in his dark and despairing eyes. Although Huayuana felt bad for dragging Qin Yu, who was in the martial emperor realm, into this matter, Huayuana didn't feel too good about it. But now, Qin Yu was really the last and only hope of the fire spirit race. This was because Qin Yu seemed to have known that this would happen. But Qin Yu still gave her a teleportation talisman. This meant that Qin Yu must have a trump card on him. Half-beast. Kid, who are you? Xiong Ba regained his senses. His face became sinister and ruthless as killing intent surged in his eyes. Killing intent. Sensing Xiong Ba's killing intent, Qin Yu glanced at him and pointed out a finger. The heaven origin of the war dragon gathered and turned into a finger force that pierced through the air. Swoosh! An after-image of a finger force flashed through the air. Xiong Ba only felt the space in front of him ripple slightly. His consciousness instantly fell into darkness and he fell to the ground. There was a bloody hole between Xiong Li's eyebrows and blood was gushing out. Seeing Qin Yu kill Xiong Ba with a single finger, Huayuana was dumbfounded. Xiong Ba's cultivation had reached the Emperor realm. Qin Yu, who was only at the martial Emperor realm, killed Xiong Ba with a single move. But soon, Huayuana came to her senses. She was shocked to find that Qin Yu's cultivation had reached the complete Heavenly Yuan stage. In just a few days, he had reached the complete Heavenly Yuan stage from the martial Emperor realm. This cultivation speed was too shocking, wasn't it? Young clan leader, seeing Xiong Ba killed in an instant, the Heavenly Yuan stage clansmen of the monster bear tribe who were surrounding Qin Yu were shocked. As the most talented genius of the monster bear tribe in the past 100 years, Xiong Ba was already the next clan leader of the monster bear tribe. It was certain that he would reach the Heavenly Wheel stage in the future. It was even possible that he would break through the yin-yang boundary and step into the calamity stage. But now, Xiong Ba, who had such amazing talent, was killed just like that. Naturally, the monster bear tribe's killing intent surged. Kill him! Kill him! Seeing this, Xiong Li's eyes were bloodshot. He couldn't wait to tear Qin Yu into pieces as he roared angrily. If he hadn't been held back by Zhen He, he would have already rushed out. Die! The first to rush out from the monster bear tribe was Xiong Li's confidant, Xiong Yuan. Xiong Yuan's face was filled with killing intent as the shadow of a monster bear appeared on his body. He clawed at Qin Yu with his claws. A sharp sound of wind breaking could be heard. This was the monster bear tribe's killing technique. With a swipe of his claws, even a 1,000-foot-tall mountain would be crushed into dust in an instant. Divine thunder annihilation. Qin Yu wasn't afraid at all. He pointed at Xiong Yuan who was charging at him from afar. With a crackling sound, a purple thunderbolt as thick as an arm suddenly struck down from the sky. It was the divine ability of the purple thunder divine cloud dragon. Xiong Yuan's reaction was quick. He changed his attack and clawed at the thunderbolt as if he wanted to tear it apart. Boom! However, with a deafening clap of thunder, Xiong Yuan's claws were turned into dust. Not only that, half of his head disappeared as well. How could this be? In just one move, Xiong Yuan, who was second only to the ancestor and patriarch of the monster bear tribe, was killed. This caused the other members of the monstrous bear clan that had charged over to kill Qin Yu to be stunned. Unable to conceal their fear, they looked at Qin Yu, who had pointed with a single hand. Such strength was definitely not something that a Heavenly Yuan realm cultivator could possess. Heavenly Wheel realm expert. As soon as this thought appeared, the ordinary Heavenly Yuan realm cultivators of the monster bear tribe immediately retreated. Hu Xiao had used a secret technique to raise his cultivation to the level of a Heavenly Wheel realm cultivator. Dozens of them had besieged him and paid the price of several of them to severely injure him. Now that they had encountered a real Heavenly Wheel realm cultivator, they would need all the Heavenly Yuan realm cultivators to go all out. Who is that guy? Zhen He squinted his eyes as he carefully sized up Qin Yu. Half monster body, Heavenly Wheel realm cultivation. There shouldn't be such a person in the Fire Demon Mountain range. Where did he come from? Damn it. Xiong Li's eyes were bloodshot and filled with hatred. He was furious, and his killing intent was even more intense. Chapter 717. Rumble. While Xiong Li was filled with killing intent and was unable to escape, Qin Yu's attacks became even more ferocious. As Qin Yu took a step forward, a soul-crushing rolling thunder cloud started to condense in the sky. Bolts of terrifying lightning that contained destructive power continuously came crashing down. Every bolt of lightning was extremely pure, capable of killing a member of the demonic bear tribe. In just a short while, more than half of the Heavenly Yuan elites from the demonic bear tribe had died. Ever since he had obtained the Zhonlong Celestial King's inheritance, the primordial battle dragon art seemed to have unlocked some kind of seal. As a result, Qin Yu's superpowers from the dragon tribe had become much more powerful. Otherwise, even if Qin Yu's cultivation had reached the perfect Heavenly Yuan stage, he would not have been able to kill his peers so easily. He's too powerful. Hua Yuana opened her mouth in disbelief when she saw Qin Yu slaughtering the demonic bear tribe like a god of death. In just a short period of time, more than half of the demonic bear tribe's elites had been killed. What a terrifying cultivation. Who exactly is this person? Oh right, I remember now. Is he the half-demon that First Miss saved a few days ago? What? First Miss saved him? So, he saved her life. No wonder she came to save him. The remaining 100 members of the Fire Spirit tribe were overjoyed. At the same time, they began to speculate about Qin Yu's identity. Compared to the demonic bear tribe members who did not know about Qin Yu's background, the Fire Spirit tribe members quickly remembered Qin Yu. Although they did not know where Qin Yu came from, they at least knew why Qin Yu had attacked. Thousand Lightning Blast. After killing all the Heavenly Yuan stage elites, Qin Yu could not be bothered to kill the rest of the demonic bear tribe members one by one. With a thought, a vast lightning bolt struck down like a river. Wherever it passed, the demonic bear tribe members were killed. The only one who survived was Xiong Li, who was fighting with Zhen He in the hall. How is this possible? Seeing that the foundation of the demon bear clan had been killed by Qin Yu in a short couple of breaths' time, Xiong Li, who was originally overflowing with killing intent, finally reacted. There was a hint of shock and even fear in his berserk, blood-red eyes. Could it be that this person's cultivation has surpassed the Heavenly Wheel stage? Even Zhen He could not hide the shock in his eyes when he saw Qin Yu kill the members of the demonic bear tribe with a wave of his hand. This was because, even if he were to attack, he would not be able to easily slaughter the demonic bear tribe's dozens of Heavenly Yuan stage practitioners in such a short period of time. Heavenly Yuan stage was the 9th level of the Heavenly Yuan stage. To the 9th level to the Heavenly Yuan stage. Crack. Seeing the battle between Xiong Li and Zhen He in the palace hall, it seemed that the outcome of the battle would not be determined in a short period of time. Qin Yu extended his right hand toward Xiong Li. Qin Yu did not have the time to wait for Zhen He and Xiong Li to fight to the death. With a loud explosion, the lightning seal abruptly broke through the air and shattered the barrier around Xiong Li's body that enveloped the 30 spaces around him. Looks like I can only use a forbidden technique. Xiong Li was terrified. However, with Zhen He in front of him and Qin Yu behind him, he had no way to escape. Xiong Li's eyes flashed as he slapped his chest. He spat out a mouthful of blood and an ancient altar was formed. The altar gave off a mysterious light and ripples appeared in the air. This is the demonic bear tribe's spirit summoning technique? Zhenhe immediately realized what kind of forbidden technique Xiong Li was using. His expression changed slightly, and he immediately unleashed his killer moves at the ancient altar. He wanted to destroy it. The pale-faced Xiong Li naturally wouldn't allow Zhenhe to succeed. He channeled all the heavenly path origin energy in his body into the defensive barrier around him, blocking all the origin energy attacks. Boom! At this moment, Qin Yu unleashed another demonic heaven's lightning seal. With a deafening explosion, Xiong Li, who was vomiting blood, was sent flying dozens of feet away along with the ancient altar. The palace of the Fire Spirit clan was directly destroyed and turned into ruins. Whoosh! In the ruins of the main hall, a figure broke through the air and rushed towards Xiong Li. It was none other than Makoto Crane. Zhenhe knew that Xiong Li's spirit summoning technique had the same ability as the teleportation array. Although the distance was too far to summon, the demonic bear tribe and the fire spirit tribe could teleport over. The person that Zhenhe did not want Xiong Li to teleport over was Rumble. However, just as Zhenhe approached, he was sent flying by a wave of terrifying energy. The large hall, which had originally turned into ruins, was directly turned into dust under the frightening force, and a huge empty space appeared. In the center of the empty space, a burly figure appeared. A terrifying demonic aura soared into the sky from his body. Beside him, Xiong Li was no longer breathing. The demonic spirit that possessed him had also dissipated. Is it too late? Seeing the burly figure, Zhenhe's expression turned extremely grave. He was no stranger to that figure. It was the ancestor of the demonic bear tribe, Xiong Quang. More importantly, from the demonic aura that Xiong Quang emitted, his cultivation had broken through the heavenly wheel realm and stepped into the heavenly disaster realm. Zhenhe, we have no enmity between us. However, for the sake of the fire spirit tribe, you dared to kill so many members of the demonic bear tribe. Today, you will die. An old and sinister voice sounded. The burly Xiong Quang raised his head and looked at Zhenhe. His dark brown eyes were filled with extremely gloomy killing intent. In Xiong Quang's opinion, the only person in the fire spirit tribe who had the strength to kill so many elite members of the demonic bear tribe was Zhenhe. This person is the ancestor of the demonic bear tribe. His cultivation should have stepped into the heavenly disaster realm. Ordinary means won't be able to deal with him. Sensing that Xiong Quang's killing intent had locked onto him, Zhenhe's face turned even more grave. He couldn't help but send a voice transmission to Qin Yu to discuss. Although Qin Yu's cultivation seemed to be only at the complete heavenly origin realm, Qin Yu's combat strength was definitely at the heavenly wheel realm. He was just hiding his strength now. He just stepped into the heavenly wheel realm. There's nothing to worry about. Looking at the surging demonic aura and killing intent of Xiong Quang, Qin Yu's expression was calm. In fact, there was even a hint of eagerness in his eyes. After coming to the fire domain, he had never truly fought with his full strength. Qin Yu was really curious about how strong he was. Just as well, he could test it out with the heavenly disaster realm Xiong Quang. Whoosh! Like a meteor piercing through the sky, Qin Yu, who had unleashed his extreme speed path, had already charged out. However, this time, Qin Yu had a long spear in his hand. It was covered in chaotic ancient runes. Against a heavenly disaster realm Xiong Quang, Qin Yu was serious. Chapter 718. You're courting death. Xiong Quang ignored Qin Yu as he stepped forward and waved his sleeve. Whoosh! The violent and destructive heavenly origin energy turned into an apocalyptic wave and swept toward Qin Yu. Judging from the pressure, even a heavenly wheel realm expert would be seriously injured if they faced it head-on, let alone a heavenly yuan stage expert. However, Qin Yu wasn't afraid at all as he faced it head-on. Is this a calamity stage expert? Hua Yuana and the rest of the fire spirit race, who thought that the crisis of their race had been resolved, were shocked when they saw Xiong Quang's attack. In front of the furious Xiong Quang, they felt that not only their bodies, but even their souls were intimidated. They couldn't move at all. Sky-devouring dragon seal. Facing Xiong Quang's attack, a mysterious ancient dragon seal formed in the palm of Qin Yu's left hand. The dragon head on the dragon seal was lifelike and terrifying, as if it could devour everything in the world. As the ancient dragon seal expanded, a hole was devoured in the destructive wave. The dragon seal's power didn't diminish as it continued to devour Xiong Kuang. Xiong Kuang, who was filled with killing intent, had a strange look in his eyes. He was only at the peak of the sky origin stage. How did he break through his cultivation in such a short time? What kind of secret technique was this? Break. Xiong Kuang's reaction wasn't slow at all as he thrust out his palm. His powerful heavenly yuan formed a huge palm that slammed against the sky-devouring dragon seal. Although the sky-devouring dragon seal could devour everything, it was limited by Qin Yu's cultivation. It couldn't withstand Xiong Kuang's attack and was shattered. Swoosh. But at this moment, Qin Yu had already followed the sky-devouring dragon seal and arrived in front of Xiong Kuang. All the dragon runes on the chaotic dragon spear emitted a mysterious light, increasing the power of the chaotic dragon spear to the extreme. When the spear tip pierced through the air, ripples appeared in the void. It's a high-grade saint treasure. Xiong Kuang was shocked when he sensed the pressure coming from the primal Chaos Dragon Spear. The Chaos Dragon Spear in Qin Yu's hand was at least a 7th-grade sacred treasure. Such a treasure was already among the top in the Fire Demon Mountains. Even the demonic bear tribe did not have a saint treasure of that level. Thus, in addition to being shocked, intense greed also appeared in Xiong Kuang's eyes. With his current cultivation, if he had a high-grade saint treasure and the Fire Demon token, it would not be impossible for him to forcefully break through the boundary of the Demon King mystic realm in the depths of the Fire Demon mountain range. Heaven and earth defying cauldron. Thinking of this, Xiong Kuang's killing intent intensified, and his demonic aura became even more ferocious and terrifying. Xiong Kuang formed a hand seal and condensed an ancient cauldron with 3 legs and 2 handles. The ancient cauldron flickered with a mysterious light, bringing with it a boundless might as it descended from the sky, suppressing Qin Yu. Rumble. The ancient cauldron and the Chaos Dragon Spear instantly met in the void. Destructive heavenly yuan swept out like a stormy sea, destroying everything around it. Qin Yu and Xiong Kuang's bodies shook violently at this moment as they withstood the destructive attack of their opponent. After a few breaths of time, Xiong Kuang and Qin Yu, who were facing the attack head-on, both retreated continuously. However, Xiong Kuang only retreated 5 steps, while Qin Yu retreated more than 20 steps. The difference in strength was still quite obvious. He can actually withstand the attack of a Calamity Realm expert. Zhen He, who had been looking for an opportunity to attack, was extremely shocked when he saw this scene. Although he already knew that Qin Yu had concealed his strength, Zhen He did not expect that Qin Yu's combat strength would reach such a level when he was serious. If Xiong Kuang had not stepped into the Calamity Realm, he would have been defeated long ago. Where did this person come from? After stabilizing his body, Xiong Kuang looked at Qin Yu. His eyes were filled with killing intent, but there was also a strong sense of suspicion. Not only could a perfect heavenly yuan stage expert face off against him, a Calamity Realm expert, but he could also withstand his attack. This kind of physical strength was a little too terrifying. Not to mention that he was only a half-monster, even those pure-blooded monsters would not have such a strong physical body. It seems that it's still difficult to deal with a Calamity Realm expert with just the heaven-devouring dragon seal and the divine dragon tyrannical body. Qin Yu looked at Xiong Kuang, who was sizing him up vigilantly, and his eyes flickered slightly. After the previous exchange, Qin Yu had a clearer understanding of his own strength. With the secret techniques and saint treasures he had, he could easily kill a Heavenly Wheel Realm expert. However, against a Calamity Realm expert, he would still need to use the Azure Dragon Battle the Heavens and the 8 Trigrams Transform Dragon. Die for me. Demonic Fire Scarlet Sky Technique. Xiong Kuang, who had already discovered that Qin Yu was not easy to deal with, roared angrily. Demonic fire burned all over his body, covering him from head to toe as he soared into the sky. More than half of the land of the Fire Spirit tribe was covered by the demonic fire. Under the enhancement of the demonic fire, Xiong Kuang's power surged crazily. Soon, he reached the mid-Calamity Realm from the early Calamity Realm. Good, it's time to end this. Azure Dragon Battle the Heavens. Qin Yu's eyes were cold. Although there were no changes on his body, inside his body, under his skin, green dragon scales grew from his flesh, covering his limbs and bones. Immediately, Qin Yu's cultivation rose crazily at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, Qin Yu, who was originally at the perfect heavenly yuan stage, had reached the calamity realm. How is this possible? Xiong Kuang, who had used the demonic bear tribe's secret technique to increase his cultivation by 2 levels, felt Qin Yu's terrifying increase in cultivation, and his face was filled with shock. Dragon's aura? The half-monster bloodline in his body is the dragon tribe's bloodline? Zhen He and the people from the fire spirit race were even more dumbfounded. They had never seen such a strange and inconceivable thing before. More importantly, Qin Yu's terrifying dragon's aura made the demonic beast tribe bloodline in their bodies tremble instinctively, as if they were facing the ancient Shenron. Not good. At this moment, Xiong Kuang, who was filled with killing intent, immediately made a decision. Without thinking, he turned around and tried to escape. When Qin Yu saw this, a cold smile appeared on his face. It was too late to escape now. Swoosh. In a flash, Qin Yu's figure crossed the void and caught up with Xiong Kuang in an instant. The chaotic dragon spear turned into a ray of chaotic light and disappeared in the void. Puff. Although Xiong Kuang noticed it in time and immediately put up a defense, it was a pity that he could not resist Qin Yu's attack. His entire body was pierced by Qin Yu, and his demonic soul was imprisoned. With a thought, Qin Yu took out Xiong Kuang's demonic soul and refined it to replenish the power of the 2 spirits in his mind. Xiong Kuang is dead. Seeing that Xiong Kuang, who was at the Calamity Realm, was killed in an instant, Zhen He and the people from the Fire Spirit tribe were stunned. They looked at the dead Xiong Kuang in disbelief. One should know that Xiong Kuang was a Calamity Realm expert. In the Flaming Demon Mountain range, he was worthy of being called the Overlord. However, such an existence was killed by Qin Yu in one blow? How terrifying was Qin Yu's strength? Chapter 719. After killing Xiong Kuang, Qin Yu walked over to Hu Xiao, who was covered in blood. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. After examining him, Qin Yu found that Hu Xiao's condition was extremely dangerous. It could even be said that he was on the brink of death and could die at any moment. Can my father be saved? Hua Yuana, Hua Quan, and dozens of other survivors of the fire spirit race gathered around and looked at Qin Yu anxiously and hopefully. They had already examined Hu Xiao's injuries. It was completely beyond saving. If Qin Yu couldn't do anything, then Hu Xiao could only wait for his death. Whether he can live or not will depend on his luck. Qin Yu moved his right hand and the fire orb that contained the inheritance of the fire river appeared in his hand. Originally, Qin Yu wanted to give the fire orb to Hua Yuana. After all, in terms of talent, no one in the fire spirit race could compare to Hua Yuana. However, seeing Hua Xiao's current condition, Qin Yu changed his mind. Given the current situation of the fire spirit race, if Hua Xiao died, then even if they survived the calamity of the bear spirit race, they wouldn't be able to survive in the fire spirit mountain range. This orb. Seeing the fire orb in Qin Yu's hand, the fire spirit race members felt their bloodlines being stirred. They wanted to worship it. True Crane's eyes flashed with a bright light. The ripples contained within the bead caused his heart to palpitate. While his heart palpitated, the True Crane also sensed an extremely majestic energy fluctuation from the bead. If he could refine the orb, then his cultivation would definitely break through to the calamity stage. Of course, in front of Qin Yu, even if Zhen He had such a thought, he still did not dare to reveal it. Even the arrogant Xiong Kuang, who had stepped into the calamity stage, was easily killed by Qin Yu. He didn't want to risk his life. Buzz. Buzz. Hua Xiao's body trembled as the fire orb merged with him. Strange flame divine inscriptions covered his entire body. In the next moment, Hua Xiao, who was originally weak and on the verge of death, became stronger at an astonishing speed. His vitality is becoming stronger. His injuries are also recovering. Great. What treasure is that? Hua Yuana and the other members of the fire spirit race were overjoyed when they sensed it. After encountering a calamity, Hua Xiao was still saved. This was really a great fortune. The fire spirit clan's people were deeply grateful to Qin Yu. As the battle came to an end, the outcome of the battle between the Fire Spirit clan and the monstrous Bear clan quickly spread through the Fire Demon Mountain range. In the Fire Demon Mountain range, the monstrous clans that had originally thought that the Fire Spirit clan would definitely be exterminated were all extremely shocked upon learning that the monstrous Bear clan had been exterminated. After all, judging from the battle prowess displayed by the Demon Bear tribe, other than their lack of foundation, they were already comparable to the top great demon clans in the Fire Demon Mountain range. However, after asking around, no matter how shocked the demonic beasts were, they could only believe that the demonic bear tribe had indeed been exterminated. Even Xiong Kwong, who had obvious traces of a calamity stage expert on his body, was hung outside the valley. For a time, the entire Fire Demon Mountain range became extremely fearful of the Fire Spirit race. They didn't know how the Fire Spirit race, which had always been at the bottom of the Fire Demon Mountain range, had hidden such strength. Many monstrous clans that had grudges with the Fire Spirit race in the past directly moved out of the Fire Demon Mountain range. This directly caused the Fire Demon Mountain range to become turbulent as they competed for resources. Of course, the most turbulent was naturally the monstrous Bear tribe's territory. After seeing that the Fire Spirit race didn't seem to have any intention of taking over the monstrous Bear tribe's territory, the surrounding great demon clans all moved to divide the monstrous Bear tribe's territory. 3 days later, at the Fire Spirit race. "Are you leaving?" Hua Yuana looked at Qin Yu. She had already seen through Qin Yu's thoughts. If it weren't for the fact that there had been people spying on the Fire Spirit race's territory these days, Qin Yu would have left long ago. "I still have things to do. I can't stay any longer." Qin Yu nodded. Not only did the Fire Spirit race have True Crane, who was at the Heavenly Wheel realm, but even Hua Xiao, who had been severely injured and on the verge of death, had also stepped into the Heavenly Wheel realm after fusing with the Fire Pearl. There was no need to worry about the safety of the Fire Spirit race. While protecting the Fire Spirit race, Qin Yu hadn't been idle. He had already used a secret technique to determine the location of the Dragon Soul. Now, it was time for Qin Yu to leave. "My Fire Spirit race will never forget your kindness. If you need us in the future, my Fire Spirit race will definitely go through water and tread on fire." Hua Yuana solemnly bowed to Qin Yu when she heard that. If it weren't for Qin Yu, the Fire Spirit race would have been completely exterminated. "Consider this as returning the favor for saving my life. We will meet again in the future if fate allows it." Qin Yu smiled and strode out of the Fire Spirit race's valley. Hua Yuana's lips moved slightly as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, she didn't say anything. She stared blankly at Qin Yu's back until Qin Yu disappeared. She still hadn't recovered from her shock. That little brat has finally left. When Qin Yu left the Fire Spirit race's territory, in the Fire Spirit race that was waiting to be rebuilt, at the top of a loft, a figure sitting cross-legged opened his eyes slightly and looked in the direction Qin Yu left. He heaved a sigh of relief. This person was the patriarch of the Fire Spirit race, Hua Xiao. But the current Hua Xiao was completely different from before. Not only was his gaze indifferent, but there was also a powerful pressure looming around him. Chirp! At this moment, at the edge of the Fire Demon Mountain range, a large snow-white condor that was several jong in size flew into the sky, straight into the clouds. It was an Emperor Realm snow eagle with the bloodline of an ancient heavenly peng. It was one of the top monster races in the Fire Spirit Mountain range. But at this moment, there was a figure standing on the back of the large eagle. That person was Qin Yu, who had left the Fire Spirit race. According to Qin Yu's secret technique, the location of the Dragon Soul was quite far from the Fire Spirit Mountain range. Now, Qin Yu was still unable to break free from the pressure of heaven and earth to fly. Naturally, he couldn't reach the location of the Dragon Soul as soon as possible. Therefore, Qin Yu casually subdued a snow eagle to ride on his journey. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Above the 9 heavens, the whistling wind was as terrifying as blades. Qin Yu stood on the back of the snow eagle and turned a blind eye to those hurricanes. With the current strength of his physical body, how could such a strong gale be taken seriously by him? Qin Yu looked down at the landscape of the Fire Spirit Mountain as he traveled. Rumble. After flying for a full 5 days and 5 nights, they passed through a desert. A deafening roar of thunder suddenly came from the sky, accompanied by an extremely violent fluctuation of thunder. Someone is fighting. Qin Yu instantly sensed and controlled the snow eagle to fly lower. Not long after, a chaotic battle appeared in front of Qin Yu's eyes. In the depths of the desert, there was a mountain-like two-headed python that was 1,000 feet long. It was crazily swallowing and spitting out green lightning, wantonly destroying everything. Around the two-headed python, there were more than 10 cultivators who were crazily attacking it. Chapter 720. Heavenly Lightning Twin-Headed Python. Standing on the snow eagle, Qin Yu looks at that two-headed huge python that is swallowing and spitting out thunderbolts with great interest. The Heavenly Lightning Twin-Headed Python was a descendant of the ancient Heavenly Lightning Python. It had an extremely pure Heavenly Lightning Python bloodline. To Qin Yu, the Heavenly Lightning Twin-Headed Python bloodline was useless. However, the Purple Thunder Heavenly Dragon that Qin Yu had subdued was a lightning-attributed dragon. If he could refine the Heavenly Lightning Twin-Headed Python bloodline, it would definitely be of great benefit to the Purple Thunder Heavenly Dragon. Although the Purple Thunder Heavenly Dragon's bloodline was fundamentally stronger than the Heavenly Lightning Twin-Headed Python's bloodline, it was limited by its cultivation and could not break through to the ancient Emperor realm. Therefore, Qin Yu needed some external help to break through the limits of the Purple Thunder Heavenly Dragon, Golden Flame Heaven Incinerating Dragon, and the Chaos Ancestor Dragon. This was also why Qin Yu did not refine all the flames in the mystic realm in the depths of the Flaming Demon Mountain range. Instead, he kept most of them in the Chaos Dragon world. Otherwise, Qin Yu's cultivation would not have only increased to the full Sky Yuan realm. After all, the vast sky divine flames in the Demon King mystic realm were left behind by a great emperor. As for the dozen or so cultivators attacking the Heavenly Lightning Twin-Headed Python, their cultivation had all reached the Calamity realm. They did not have any demonic aura, and looked like they were all humans. However, within their Heavenly Yuan power, there was an extremely dense and intense demonic qi. The demonic qi was far more terrifying than the extraterritorial demon tribe in the sky region. Rumble. The battle continued. Although it was surrounded, the Heavenly Lightning Twin-Headed Python did not fall into a disadvantage. Rolling lightning struck recklessly, and even the Heavenly Wheel Realm cultivators did not dare to underestimate it. If not for the dozen or so cultivators who had mastered an extremely mysterious battle formation, they would have been destroyed by the Heavenly Lightning Twin-Headed Python's attacks. Golden Crow Demonic Formation. After a long battle, both sides had exhausted much of their cultivation. A gray-eyed man who was the leader of the cultivators shouted in a low voice. Immediately, their battle formation changed. Vast Heavenly Yuan surged out and condensed into 9 dazzling suns in the void. A golden crow appeared in each of the blazing suns. Chirp, chirp, chirp. In the next moment, the 9-headed golden crow, whose entire body was burning with raging flames, suddenly pounced towards the 2-headed Heavenly Lightning Python that was spitting out destructive lightning. However, the flames on the 9-headed golden crow were pitch black and exuded an extremely strange demonic aura. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Besieged by the 9 blazing golden crows, the Sky Lightning Twin-Headed Python immediately fell into a disadvantage. The destructive lightning it spat out didn't do much damage to the 9 blazing golden crows. However, the pitch-black flames spat out by the 9-headed golden crows left behind a large area of burn marks on the body of the Heavenly Lightning Twin-Headed Python. Waves of smoke were emitted. Hold it back and refine it. Seeing that the golden crow demonic formation was indeed able to deal with the Heavenly Lightning Twin-Headed Python, the gray-eyed man in the lead could not conceal his joy. As long as the descendants of ancient fierce beasts reached adulthood, they would at least be at the Empyrean realm. Right now, this Heavenly Lightning Twin-Headed Python was currently at the boundary of transforming to Empyrean realm. For the gray-eyed man and the others, this was a rare opportunity. If the Heavenly Lightning Twin-Headed Python was allowed to complete its metamorphosis and step into the Heavenly Venerate realm, it would be difficult for them to deal with it no matter how many Calamity realm cultivators they had. Rumble. Under the burning of the 9-headed golden crow demonic formation, the injuries on the body of the Heavenly Lightning Twin-Headed Python became more and more serious. Its mountain-like body rolled crazily, and the earth shook violently as if a mountain flood had erupted. Amidst the tremors, Lightning surged like a river, filling the void and destroying everything. However, the more it struggled, the weaker the cultivation of the heavenly lightning twin-headed python became. Not only can it burn its blood, but it can also burn its soul. Qin Yu's eyes flashed as he stood on the snow sculpture and watched the battle quietly. From a certain perspective, the pitch-black flames of the nine-headed golden crows were no weaker than the vast sky divine flames of the Demon King mystic realm. Of course, Qin Yu had never seen the true might of the Demon King mystic realm, so he could only make a rough comparison. However, this was enough to show how terrifying the pitch-black flames of the nine-headed golden crows were. Whoosh! Seeing that the heavenly lightning twin-headed python was about to reach its limit, Qin Yu did not hesitate. He jumped off the snow sculpture and entered the ground. At this moment, the grey-eyed man, who was the leader of the dozen or so cultivators, seemed to have sensed something and looked back at the snow sculpture that was rising rapidly into the sky. Was it an illusion? Seeing that it was only an Emperor Realm monster beast, the grey-eyed man raised his eyebrows slightly and withdrew his gaze in confusion. Just now, he clearly sensed a trace of fluctuation that made his heart palpitate, but it only lasted for an instant before it disappeared. This made the grey-eyed man unsure whether it was an illusion or not. That is, Hall Master, look. At this moment, the pupils of the Calamity Realm cultivators around the grey-eyed man suddenly shrank, and their expressions changed drastically, as if they had seen something. It was an extremely unbelievable scene. The grey-eyed man hurriedly looked back, and his pupils also shrank sharply. He saw that a figure had appeared in the golden crow demonic array that trapped the heavenly lightning twin-headed python. How did he get in? The grey-eyed man was extremely shocked. The golden crow demonic array that they had set up was an ancient array with a powerful barrier. Even heavenly venerables would find it difficult to break it in a short time. This was also the reason why the heavenly lightning twin-headed python had been unable to break out. But now, someone had snuck into the golden crow demonic array without anyone noticing. This naturally shocked the grey-eyed man and the others. The person who had entered the ancient array was none other than Qin Yu. They saw that Qin Yu's body was burning with golden flames, resisting the golden crow's demonic flames. As for the destructive thunderbolts unleashed by the heavenly lightning twin-headed python, they immediately disappeared when they touched Qin Yu, as if they had been devoured. How dare you ruin our fiend demon sect's business? You're courting death. Seeing that Qin Yu had walked to the side of the heavenly lightning twin-headed python, the grey-eyed man's eyes flashed with a chilling light. They had put in a lot of effort to besiege and trap the heavenly lightning twin-headed python just as it was about to break through. Now that they were about to succeed, they naturally couldn't let someone intercept them halfway. Immediately, his killing intent soared as he charged out. Withdraw. Sensing the actions of the fiend demon sect, Qin Yu waved his sleeve and a vast dragon aura descended. Under the attack of the golden crow demonic flames, the bloodline of the heavenly lightning twin-headed python, which had already reached its limit, was immediately suppressed to the extreme. Its mountain-like body collapsed with a loud bang, kicking up a cloud of dust. With a thought, Qin Yu immediately withdrew the heavenly lightning twin-headed python into the ancient dragon god seal. Seeing that the 9 golden crows had lost their target and were flying towards him, Qin Yu didn't hesitate. The yin-yang escape talisman in his hand glowed and he instantly disappeared into the ground. Damn it, who the hell is it? By the time the grey-eyed man and the others charged into the golden crow demonic array, Qin Yu had already disappeared without a trace. This caused the grey-eyed man and the others to fly into a rage, their killing intent shocking the heavens. Chapter 721. By now, Qin Yu was already far away from the fiend demon sect. With Qin Yu's current fighting strength, he was not afraid of the fiend demon sect. However, since he had the 2-headed heavenly lightning python, there was no need for Qin Yu to fight them. After emerging from the ground, Qin Yu came to the peak of a mountain. After extracting the ancient heavenly lightning python's bloodline power from the body of the 2-headed heavenly lightning python, Qin Yu threw it into the Chaos Dragon realm for the Purple Thunder Divine Dragon to refine. Qin Yu only had 3 dragons in the Eternal Dragon realm. They were the Chaos Ancestor Dragon, the Golden Flames Heaven Incinerating Dragon, and the Purple Thunder Divine Dragon. This caused Qin Yu to feel even more strongly that he needed to search for the dragon clan. Otherwise, he did not know how long it would take to complete his grand plan for the eternal dragon realm. Among the 3 dragons, the one with the strongest cultivation was the chaotic ancestor dragon. The chaos ancestor dragon was already at the peak of the martial emperor realm, and had fused with the chaotic chi and dragon emperor blood essence in the heaven domain. He was now in seclusion, and when he woke up, he would step into the 9th tier of the heavenly Tao. Given the terrifying talents of the dragons, once they broke through the limits of the heaven domain, their cultivation would erupt like a volcano. The golden flames heaven incinerating dragon and the purple thunder divine dragon had also reached the ancient emperor realm, and were trying to break through. It would not be difficult for them to reach the 9th tier of the heavenly Tao. Chirp! After about an hour, a sharp chirp rang out. A snow-white light descended from the sky, landing on the mountain peak like a bolt of lightning. It was the snow sculpture that Qin Yu had branded. It had followed its senses. With a flying leap, Qin Yu climbs onto the snow eagle and flies away. After flying for another 10 days, Qin Yu came to the edge of a huge lake as vast as the sea. In the distant lake, there was a huge island, like an ancient beast entrenched there. Demonic chi filled the sky. Qin Yu did not take the risk, and rushed directly into the lake. That was because the entire lake was covered by an ancient spirit formation. Once one passed through it, one would be detected by the spirit formation. Qin Yu was now certain that the dragon soul that had fallen into the fire domain with him was on that giant island. Qin Yu had already investigated the island. It was Beast King Island, one of the overlords in the western part of the fire domain. It could be said that more than half of the demon clan warriors in the western part of the fire domain had gathered on Beast King Island. It was rumored that there was a quintessential saint stage powerhouse guarding the Beast King Island. In the fire domain, a quintessential saint stage existence was already considered a top existence. After circling around the lakeside for a while, Qin Yu jumped off the snow eagle and performed a secret sensing technique. With the barrier around the giant lake, it was very difficult for Qin Yu to determine where the dragon soul was on the Beast King Island. But with Qin Yu's current distance, if he used the secret technique, the dragon soul would definitely be able to sense it. As long as the dragon soul responded, Qin Yu could directly use the yin-yang escape talisman to sneak in and rescue the dragon soul. To be honest, Qin Yu was not worried about the dragon soul's safety. Because even if the dragon soul's physical body was destroyed, its soul would return to the ancient seal of the divine dragon. However, if that happened, it would cause great damage to the dragon soul. Not only would its cultivation be greatly reduced, but it would also harm its origin. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Qin Yu naturally did not want the dragon soul to destroy its body. Buzz. Sure enough, after Qin Yu used his secret technique, a weak energy fluctuation was emitted from the Beast King Island. Qin Yu's eyes flashed, and he immediately dove into the ground and into the giant lake. Roar. At this time, in the depths of Beast King Island, an ancient cave filled with cold air came a dragon roar that resounded through the 9 heavens. The deafening dragon roar contained a supreme dragon's might, causing countless demonic tribe experts on Beast King Island to feel their beast souls tremble. Their bloodline power was suppressed to the extreme. What a terrifying dragon power! On Beast King Island, countless demon clan warriors looked toward the depths of Beast King Island. Many who did not know were guessing that there was a demon clan warrior on the island who had awakened the dragon clan bloodline. However, those who knew the inside story knew that this was the dragon power of the dragon clan that the island master had imprisoned some time ago. It seemed that the island master was still unable to subdue the dragon clan after such a long time. That made sense. The dragon clan was a lofty and noble existence to the demon clan. Naturally, they would not submit to the demon clan. Roar. At this time, in the ancient cave filled with cold air, the dragon soul that was 100 feet tall and covered in light black dragon scales with chaotic dragon patterns constantly roared. The dragon soul's entire body was pierced through by ancient and mysterious bronze chains, and at the end of each chain was an ancient cauldron. Strands of pure dragon blood were flowing along the bronze chains into the ancient cauldron. I thought that you had already accepted your fate. It seems that you still won't give up. A deep laugh sounded, and a man with a horn on his head and wearing a luxurious robe appeared. "Old thief, you can laugh now. When I break free from this seal, your death will come." A cold light flickered in the dragon soul's eyes. The dragon soul's luck was not as good as Qin Yu's. After it was severely injured and fell into the fire domain, it was captured by the people of Beast King Island. A living dragon clan warrior was a supreme treasure to the demon clan of Beast King Island. Therefore, Beast King Island had been trying to subdue the dragon soul during this period. However, after trying all kinds of secret techniques and discovering that there was no way to control the dragon soul, they could only settle for the next best thing, which was to extract the dragon clan bloodline from the dragon soul. As for the dragon soul's soul, they would slowly think of a way in the future. You still haven't accepted reality after falling to this point. You still want to break free from the seal? I advise you to break the seal on your soul and cooperate with us. Only then will you have a way to survive. Otherwise, this 18 evil ghost cauldron will devour you until your bones and soul are gone. Yuan Yu crossed his arms and tried to persuade the dragon soul again. It was because of the complicated seal in the dragon soul's soul that they could not control it. If it was not a last resort, they would not be willing to destroy the dragon soul of a real dragon clan warrior. The dragon soul snorted coldly and did not say anything else. Although Beast King Island had a powerful barrier, the dragon soul could still sense that Qin Yu was not dead. Furthermore, he had clearly come to the edge of Beast King Island just now. This naturally made the dragon soul excited. As long as Qin Yu came, it would kill until a river of blood flowed on Beast King Island. Watch carefully and continue to refine it. Seeing how stubborn the dragon soul was, Yuan Yu shook his head and sealed the dragon blood in the 18 cauldrons into a jade bottle before turning around and leaving. There were still 18 demon clan warriors in the ancient cave. Each of them was in charge of a bronze cauldron to maintain the operation of the 18 evil ghost cauldrons. After leaving the ancient cave, Yuan Yu came to the center of Beast King Island and entered a magnificent hall. "Island Lord, today's dragon blood has been collected." After arriving at the magnificent hall, Yuan Yu respectfully took out the sealed dragon blood. "Very good." A joyful voice sounded. A burly figure was sitting on the main seat of the hall. With a move of his finger, the dragon blood in Yuan Yu's hand fell into his hand. This person was the Island Lord of Beast King Island, Xu Jing. Chapter 722. I've already refined the dragon blood 87 times. I just need to refine it 12 more times and my bloodline will completely revert to its ancestral form. After Yuan Yu left, Xu Jing looked at the strands of extremely pure dragon blood in the jade bottle in his hand. He could not hide the joy in his eyes. The cultivation of the monster race was different from that of the other races. The monster race relied heavily on the power of their bloodline. The stronger their bloodline, the stronger their cultivation and talent. If they could refine their bloodline power to the point of reverting to their ancestral form, their potential would reach a heaven-defying level. Ever since he had captured the dragon soul, Xu Jing had been making arrangements to refine the dragon bloodline and fuse it into his bloodline to undergo a metamorphosis. Without hesitation, Xu Jing entered the depths of the hall with the jade bottle in his hand. In an inner hall. There was an extremely profound ancient formation in the inner hall. As Xu Jing entered, countless ancient formation runes gathered in the center of the ancient formation, forming an altar. At a glance, the altar looked like a ferocious beast that gave off an ancient aura. Buzz! Buzz! As Xu Jing poured the dragon blood in the jade bottle onto the ancient formation altar, the altar immediately trembled as if the ferocious beast was rampaging. Its aura became even more terrifying. In the next moment, countless strands of blood rose from the ferocious beast and fused into the acupoints all over Xu Jing's body. Xu Jing's expression brightened as a layer of ethereal light appeared around him, forming a vast sea. His entire body flickered in and out of existence as if he was hidden in the sea. After a long while, the ethereal light around Xu Jing gradually dissipated, revealing his true body. One could clearly sense that Xu Jing's aura had changed. Although his cultivation had not increased, his aura seemed to have undergone some sort of metamorphosis. As expected of the dragon race bloodline, Xu Jing could not hide the joy on his face when he sensed the changes in his bloodline. He had taken another big step towards reverting his bloodline to its ancestral form. The strength of the dragon race's bloodline was indeed well deserved. Actually, Xu Jing was really lucky. The dragon soul was born in the body of immortal ancient Shenron and awakened the bloodline of immortal ancient Shenron. This was why the dragon soul's bloodline was far superior to ordinary dragons. Otherwise, if it were an ordinary dragon, even if his cultivation level had reached the 9th firmament of the heavenly Tao, the dragon blood would not have such miraculous effects. I didn't expect Brother Tian Jing's true form to be the legendary void dark whale that only exists in the sea. Just as Xu Jing dispersed the formation and was about to leave, a light laughter rang out. The corners of Xu Jing's eyes twitched as he stopped in his tracks. He tilted his head slightly and smiled. When did Mr. Qi arrive? In the direction that Xu Jing was looking at, a middle-aged man with an extraordinary bearing dressed in a blazing robe appeared. I've been here for quite a while. Qi Liwei walked over and sized Xu Jing up. It seems like Brother Xu Jing's injuries have completely healed. I'm afraid you don't need the Fire God Palace's sacred medicine anymore. Clearly, Qi Liwei had also noticed that the Void Jing bloodline had changed. I never imagined that there would be a dragon tribe in the fire domain. After merging with the dragon tribe's bloodline, not only did my injuries recover, even my bloodline underwent a transformation. Of course, I will never forget Mr. Qi's kindness. Xu Jing's eyes flickered. Since Qi Liwei had been here for quite a while, he must have seen the dragon tribe's blood essence. Xu Jing did not hide anything and spoke directly. The rumors are true. Brother Tian Jing's luck is heaven-defying. You really caught a dragon tribe member. I'm so envious. Qi Liwei's eyes flashed when he heard Xu Jing's words. He was still skeptical at first. However, now that Xu Jing had admitted it personally, it was probably true. Why? Mr. Qi, are you also interested in the dragon tribe? Xu Jing's eyebrows twitched when he saw Qi Liwei's expression. Could Qi Liwei's target be the dragon tribe in his hands? However, Qi Liwei was a human and not a demon. Why would he want the dragon tribe? Did he want to subdue it? The dragon tribe is really useless to me. However, Qi Liwei chuckled. Mr. Qi, please speak your mind. Xu Jing asked directly when he saw the situation. Since Brother Tian Jing is a straightforward person, I shall not hide it from you. The dragon tribe is useless to me, but it's something that the palace master of the Fire God Palace urgently needs. Qi Liwei said. Could it be that the palace master of the Fire God Palace is a demon? Xu Jing was a little surprised. My palace master is not a demon. However, he has a dragon tribe member in his hands. Qi Liwei said slowly. The Fire God Palace has a dragon tribe member? Xu Jing was shocked. One should know that the dragon tribe was an innate life form. It was an extremely rare life form even in the Ten-Corner world. The Fire Territory was just an insignificant martial territory in the Great Spirit world. How could there be two dragon tribes? This is a top secret in the Fire God Palace. If it wasn't for my master, I wouldn't have known about it. Brother Tian Jing, now you understand why I'm here. Qi Liwei nodded and said. Your palace master wants to merge the dragon tribe bloodline? Xu Jing pondered for a moment and immediately understood. The dragon tribe bloodline could transform the demon tribe bloodline. Naturally, the dragon tribe bloodline would be greatly beneficial to the dragon tribe as well. However, if the two of them were to fuse, then one of them would definitely die as a result. That's right. Qi Liwei looked deeply at Xu Jing. If Xu Jing did not agree, he would have to take action. The Beast King Island was an overlord force in the western part of the Fire Territory. However, the Fire God Palace was one of the top forces in the entire Fire Territory. If the experts from the Fire God Palace came, the Beast King Island would be destroyed in an instant. Mr. Qi, you saved my life, so I won't hide it from you. My name is Xu Jing, and my original form is the Void Dark Whale. I came from the Sea God Palace in the Sea region. I was plotted against and ended up in the Fire Territory. Now, it's an important moment for my bloodline to transform. Could Mr. Qi make an exception and report this to your palace master later? If Mr. Qi agrees, I will be very grateful. Shu Jing knew that since the Fire God Palace had their eyes on the dragon tribe, he could not protect them with his current strength. Hence, he could only use other means. He believed that with the Sea God Palace behind him, Qi Liwei would be wary of him. Sea Region. Shu Jing. You are the young island master of the Sea God Palace? Qi Liwei's eyes flashed with surprise. Although he knew that Shu Jing had a powerful background when he saw his original form, he did not expect him to be the young palace master of the Sea God Palace. The Sea Region and the Fire Territory were both in the Great Spirit World. However, compared to the Fire Territory, the Sea Region was much more powerful. As for the Sea God Palace, it was a true giant that had completely unified the Sea Region. It was famous even in the Great Spirit World. Compared to the Fire God Palace, it was much stronger. Shu Jing's intention in revealing his identity and background at this time couldn't be any more obvious. Chapter 723. That's right. I am the current young master of the Sea God Palace. If Mr. Qi agrees to my request, I will offer the dragon race to you with both hands after my bloodline has undergone ancestral awakening. If you don't agree, I will have no choice but to send a secret message back to the Sea Realm. I believe that with the allure of the dragon race, all the sea monsters in the Sea Realm will be mobilized. Shu Jing nodded and decided to make things clear. Then how can I believe that you won't go back on your word after your bloodline has undergone ancestral awakening? Qi Liwei pondered for a long time before looking at Shu Jing solemnly. It's very simple. Once my bloodline has undergone ancestral awakening, I will return to the Sea Realm and become the master of the Sea God Palace. The entire Sea Realm will be under my control. Mr. Qi, do you think that I will tell the Sea Realm races about the dragon race at that time? Shu Jing said directly. Indeed. Since the dragon race bloodline can allow your bloodline to undergo ancestral awakening, it will definitely be able to allow the other sea monsters in the Sea Realm to undergo ancestral awakening as well. There will be no benefits for brother Shu Jing if this news is spread. Qi Liwei quickly understood the meaning of Shu Jing's words. If Shu Jing was the only one in the Sea God Palace who had undergone ancestral awakening, his position as master would be unshakable. If other sea monsters also underwent ancestral awakening, although the Sea God's island would become stronger, Shu Jing's position would also be challenged. Qi Liwei and Shu Jing, who had reached an agreement, immediately relaxed. While the two of them were probing each other, Shu Jing and Shu Jing continued to probe each other. In the depths of the Beast King Island, in the ancient cave filled with cold air, the dragon soul that was originally sealed by the 18 evil spirit cauldrons suddenly opened its eyes, and excitement appeared in the dragon's eyes. He's finally here. The dragon soul could sense that Qin Yu's aura had already arrived in the ancient cave. Although it didn't know how Qin Yu had passed through the layers of restrictions, it was certain that Qin Yu had already entered the ancient cave. Clang, clang, clang. The dragon soul that had calmed down began to struggle again. Dragon Qi spread from its body as a vast dragon might swept out. The 18 heavenly wheel stage yarrow cultivators guarding the area simultaneously looked towards the dragon soul as they poured all their strength into the heavenly Yuan ancient cauldron. Although the dragon soul was suppressed by the 18 evil spirit cauldrons, they did not dare to relax for even a moment. In the beginning, the dragon soul had almost broken free from the suppression and escaped. Rise. However, even as the 18 demonic cultivators were completely focused on suppressing the dragon soul, a voice suddenly echoed out. In the blink of an eye, 8 beams of light appeared around the 18 heavenly wheel stage demon cultivators and the 18 ancient cauldrons. Every 8 beams of light formed an individual sealing ancient formation that was filled with supreme divine might. Who is it? The 18 heavenly wheel realm beast cultivators all paled in shock and disbelief. The island master had already laid down layers upon layers of restrictions. Under such heavy security, how could anyone possibly break in? Destroy. Another low cry appeared. Immediately, those ancient sealing formations began to tremble gently. Following which, an extremely majestic and frightening destructive force suddenly filled all of the ancient formations. Accompanied by shrill and miserable howls, the 18 heavenly wheel stage demon cultivators were turned into ashes before they could even react. Their souls were completely scattered. Crack. The 18 evil spirit cauldrons were also affected by the destructive force. The 18 bronze chains shattered inch by inch and could no longer suppress the dragon soul. Boom! The moment it broke free, the dragon soul's huge tail swept across and the 18 ancient cauldrons were directly pulverized by the dragon soul's physical strength. The traces of essence blood that had been extracted also completely merged into the dragon soul's body. The bloodline is damaged. As the dragon soul merged with the dragon blood, Qin Yu emerged from the ground with a flash of light. After carefully sensing the dragon soul's condition, a cold glint flashed across his eyes. One should know that the dragon soul that had awakened the immortal ancient Shenron bloodline was even stronger than the primal chaos ancestor dragon. If it could not recover, it would have a huge impact on the dragon soul's potential. 30% of the bloodline has been extracted, but it's fine. It's not that easy to refine my bloodline. The dragon soul's face revealed a ferocious expression. As it spoke, the dragon aura around the dragon soul boiled and the space around it became distorted. That was the power of time and space continuously recovering. Originally, with the dragon soul's superpower of time and space, even if it could not defeat the enemy, it would be easily captured. Unfortunately, when it was in the world sea, the dragon soul was violently impacted by the spatial turbulence, causing it to be severely injured. That was why it was captured by the people of Beast King Island. They seemed to have sensed it. Qin Yu, who was guarding beside the dragon soul, suddenly raised his eyebrows. He sensed thousands of tyrannical auras crazily rushing towards the ancient cold chi cave. Among the thousands of people, the weakest was at the heavenly origin realm. There were also many heavenly wheel realm and heavenly calamity realm cultivators. In addition, there were more than 10 extremely oppressive auras. Not only are there heavenly venerables, but there are also heavenly saint realm cultivators. Qin Yu's eyes flashed. The dozen or so extremely oppressive auras were obviously heavenly venerables and heavenly saint realm cultivators. Immediately, Qin Yu waved his sleeve and the dragon soul entered the ancient divine dragon seal. Under the primal chaos dragon realm and the ancient divine dragon seal, the dragon soul's cultivation recovered at an astonishing speed. Of course, it was impossible for the dragon soul to recover to its peak after losing 30% of the dragon clan's bloodline. Even if it regained its lost bloodline, it would need to recuperate for a period of time to recover its vitality. After keeping the dragon soul, Qin Yu did not leave. He held the long spear in his hand and calmly stood in the same spot. Although Qin Yu's cultivation was only at the complete heavenly origin realm, Qin Yu was not afraid of the heavenly venerables and heavenly saint realm cultivators who were about to arrive. Qin Yu dared to sneak into Beast King Island alone, so he naturally had a foolproof plan. Swoosh, swoosh. In the blink of an eye, figures with astonishing demonic auras rushed into the ancient cave. When they saw the destroyed 18 evil ghost cauldrons and the dragon soul that had disappeared, the demonic cultivators who came looked at Qin Yu with murderous intent. There was only Qin Yu in the ancient cave. Obviously, the person who destroyed the 18 evil ghost cauldrons and rescued the dragon soul was Qin Yu. Human clan? No, he has the demonic clan's bloodline in his body. Half-demonic body? This guy is only at the heavenly origin realm. How did he get in? That's not the point. The dragon clan's whereabouts is the key. The powerful demonic cultivators who came in were originally quite cautious. However, when they saw that the intruder, Qin Yu, was only at the heavenly origin realm, they were immediately surprised and began to discuss among themselves. Boom! Suddenly, an extremely angry aura descended like a volcano that was about to erupt. This made the demonic cultivators who were discussing among themselves tremble and immediately fall silent. Of course, they knew that the owner of the angry aura was Island Master Shu Jing. If they spoke too much and angered the Island Master, they would be torn to shreds. Sure enough, as the void rippled, two figures with terrifying auras appeared in the void. The two of them were Shu Jing and Qi Liwei. Chapter 724. Hand over the dragon tribe. Otherwise, I will let you know what it means to beg for death. Seeing that the dragon soul had disappeared and was replaced by Qin Yu, Shu Jing's face was terrifyingly gloomy. Terrifying murderous intent filled the air. Seeing that his bloodline was only a dozen times away from atavism, Xu Jing could not hide his murderous intent when someone dared to target the dragon tribe at this time. Of course, despite his murderous intent, Xu Jing did not directly take action. This was because he suspected that Qin Yu had some relationship with the fire god palace behind Qi Liwei. After all, Qi Liwei had just found him and Qin Yu had appeared to kidnap the dragon tribe. In Xu Jing's opinion, this was too much of a coincidence. Brother Xu Jing, this person has nothing to do with the fire god palace. If the fire god palace really wanted to take action, they would not have sent a mere heavenly Yuan realm cultivator and trapped him here. Noticing Xu Jing's gaze, Qi Liwei immediately reacted and said, "It's fine." Qi Liwei's words made Xu Jing feel at ease. As long as it was not someone from the fire god palace, he was not afraid of any faction in the fire domain. "Men, capture him. I want to know who sent him here." Xu Jing immediately gave the order with murderous intent. He had kept the news of the dragon tribe sealed on the Beast King Island. He wanted to find out who dared to play tricks behind his back. If there really was someone from the Beast King Island with evil intentions, he would kill one as an example to others. Yes. As soon as Xu Jing's voice fell, dozens of heavenly wheel realm demons immediately pounced on Qin Yu. Billowing demonic aura swept out as a series of demonic secret techniques with destructive murderous intent covered the space around Qin Yu. Judging from the terrifying aura, even a Calamity Realm cultivator would not be able to withstand such an attack, let alone a heavenly Yuan Realm cultivator. Thousand illusionary shadows Dao. However, at this moment, thousands of rays of black light bloomed from Qin Yu's body. The illusory black light was so dreamy that no one could tell if it was real or fake. It filled the entire icy ancient cave. Rumble. In the next moment, a deafening explosion resounded. The killing moves executed by the dozens of heavenly wheel stage Yarrow cultivators all landed on empty air. They didn't even hit Qin Yu in the slightest. The Umbra Thousand Illusions Dao was the Umbra Dream Dragon's ultimate ability. Although the shadowy illusion dragon and the bloodthirsty sky-killing dragon had refused to submit to Qin Yu had refined them and fed them to the golden flame sky-incinerating dragon and the others. However, Qin Yu had mastered their dragon race's divine abilities. The Thousand Serene Shadows Dao was a divine ability that could evolve endless illusions. It was precisely because of this that the attacks of the dozens of heavenly wheel stage demon cultivators all missed. Not a single one of them managed to hit Qin Yu. Because at this moment, the dozens of demonic beast cultivators that were touched by the black light all fell into the illusion. Bloodthirsty hell. The instant the Thousand Umbra illusionary path was unleashed, a bloody fog that was filled with dense killing intent erupted from Qin Yu's body like a surging wave. More than half of the cold ancient cave had turned into a blood-red world. Puff puff puff. The sound of flesh being pierced rang out one after another. The dozens of demonic beast cultivators that had fallen into the illusion were swallowed by the bloody fog before they could break free from the illusion. In an instant, all of them died, and a thick smell of blood filled the air. This sudden unforeseen event caused everyone on the Beast King Island to be greatly shocked. The shock on their faces could not be concealed. A perfect heavenly Yuan stage had killed dozens of heavenly wheel stage demon cultivators in an instant. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it even if they were beaten to death. This person is strange. He must have deliberately concealed his cultivation level. Yuan Yu, who was about to attack, narrowed his eyes. He could not hide the fear in his eyes. To be able to kill dozens of heavenly wheel stage demon cultivators in an instant, Qin Yu's cultivation level was definitely higher than the heavenly Yuan stage. At the very least, he was at the heavenly disaster stage. He might have even reached the heavenly venerate stage, or even the stronger heavenly saint stage. Therefore, even Yuan Yu, whose cultivation level had reached the heavenly venerate stage, was somewhat fearful. He did not dare to act rashly for fear of falling into Qin Yu's trap. Illusion? Boundary? No, there is also the fluctuation of an array. Qi Liwei, who was from the Fire God Palace, immediately recovered from his shock. With his cultivation level at the Sky Saint stage, he could naturally see the power of Qin Yu's superpower at a glance. In addition to the two superpowers, Qin Yu had been able to erupt with such terrifying power. More importantly, Qin Yu had borrowed the power of the array. Qi Liwei spread out his senses and probed the array that Qin Yu had set up. However, the more he probed, the more shocked Qi Liwei was. This was because he sensed that the fluctuation of the array that was triggered by Qin Yu had covered the entire Beast King Island. Such terrifying array attainments meant that he had at least reached the level of a Saint Array Master. Naturally, Qi Liwei found it hard to believe. Even in the entire fire domain, there were only a few Saint Array Masters. Where did Qin Yu come from? Dragon Clan superpower and Dragon Clan bloodline. At this moment, Xu Jing, who had been surging with killing intent, was overjoyed. That was because not only was he able to tell that what Qin Yu had used was a Dragon Clan's divine ability, he had also sensed an extremely pure Dragon Clan's bloodline fluctuation from Qin Yu's body. Although it was extremely weak, Xu Jing, who had refined Dragon Clan bloodline, would never be wrong. In fact, the Dragon Clan bloodline in Qin Yu's body was no weaker than the Dragon Clan soul. This naturally made Xu Jing overjoyed. After all, this was a heaven-defying opportunity that had come to him. To the Monster Clan, it was a supreme treasure that could only be found by chance. Heavenly stellar divine light. Seeing that the people on Beast King Island were stunned, Qin Yu's gaze fell on Xu Jing. He used the Dragon Clan superpower again. A solid beam of heavenly stellar divine light that contained immeasurable power instantly broke through the void and attacked Xu Jing. It was so fast that it was like a meteor streaking across the sky. No one could see its shadow at all. Just like how Xu Jing could sense the Dragon Clan bloodline in Qin Yu's body, Qin Yu could also clearly sense the Dragon Clan bloodline in Xu Jing's body that he had refined. Naturally, Qin Yu directly attacked Xu Jing. Qin Yu had now gathered the power of the ley lines of the entire Beast King Island. His battle prowess had reached the advanced Heavenly Venerate realm. He did not fear Xu Jing, who was at the Sky Saint realm. Child's play. Xu Jing sneered. He did not seem to move, but the void in front of him rippled slightly and a hazy illusory light appeared. The heavenly stellar divine light that contained the power to destroy stars was annihilated by the void. It really is a void superpower. After sensing it, Qi Liwei's eyes were filled with intense fear. His cultivation was much stronger than Xu Jing's. However, as a member of the Void Dark Whale clan, Xu Jing's void superpower was enough to allow him to fight opponents above his level. A branch of the space-time Tao? Qin Yu sensed it slightly, but his expression did not change at all.